loud enough?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to the next agenda item, which is the legislative briefing by Jeanette Bells, our lobbyist.
The president-elect is Jeanette Bells, who's been our lobbyist now for some time. Jeanette has indicated that the coming year is the senior state board, and she's agreed to come before the board to brief the board as to current conditions and a number of other items of interest. Hopefully have a running start with the new legislative session. With that, I'd like to introduce Jeanette Bells, our lobbyist.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. It's a real pleasure to give you a little bit of background on what we're looking ahead to in terms of the upcoming session, and also a little bit about what's going on in this interim. My name is Jeanette Belts, and I've been your lobbyist. I don't know, Vince, if time does fly by, but for a few years now. Vince asked me to give you a little bit of information about my background as well. I have been in the state of Nevada since 1995, and actually lobbying here for a time. I first came here as the president of the Nevada State Hospital Association. Lobbying was one of my responsibilities at that organization. And then I did a brief period with under another lobbyist working for him. And then in the year 2000, late in the year 2000, I formed my own company and started taking lobbying clients at that time, and I've been building my business since then. Also, I am a trained facilitator and a mediator, both skills actually which I have tapped in my lobbying career as well. Both of them are extremely useful to try to take a look at a broader side of things, as well as facilitating large group meetings, which I often am in the position to have to do. A little bit about my client base. I do have a number of clients. This is the only board that I do represent, though. Most of my clients are things like trade associations. I work with the Construction Trade Association. I also work with a number of medical specialty groups. I represent a charter school. So what I try to do in my practice as a lobbyist is I try to minimize conflict among my clients. I think that's very important. I pay enough money to get my hair colored. I don't need any more grays, and that would just stress me out if my clients had a lot of issues that conflict with one another. That would mean that I wasn't representing any of them very well. If a conflict does arise, and my clients are the first ones to know, and we try to work things out in that regard. Sometimes they represent themselves on an issue, depending on what it is and what that conflict might be. But in whole, I try to keep conflicts to a minimum, and I've been really successful at doing that. A little bit about what's going on right now. We are presently in what's called the interim between legislative sessions. Our last session ended in early June of 2009, and our next session doesn't start until February of 2011. So this is about that 18-month period when most people would think you'd be, resting, going on vacation or whatever, but that's not the way it is anymore. The 120-day session format that we are under now has created a tremendous amount of pressure for the interim. And a lot of things that are decided upon during the legislative session are actually fleshed out more during the interim period. A good example is a lot of bills are passed now with the intent that further regulations will be developed. And those regulations are very similar to what your board does, require an open public workshop process, a hearing process, and ultimately a couple of steps at the legislative council level, as well as a final approval by the legislature through the legislative commission, and then on to the attorney general for adoption. There are a number of efforts during this interim that affect you sort of tangentially, and those are the ones that relate to the use of medical assistance in spas medical spas, physician offices, and so forth. And it doesn't affect you directly because the folks that they're looking at right now are considered medical assistants. They are under the license of a physician, either a medical physician or an osteopathic physician. But they're the folks that it's come to light through some press down in Las Vegas that some of these folks are actually injecting Botox into customers at these spas, and the concern was that they were doing that without any kind of a license. The current structure is that medical assistants are they're not registered, they're not certified. They basically work under the direction of the physician, and the physician has to take responsibility for the fact that that person has the knowledge, skills, training necessary in order to be able to do whatever tasks are delegated to them. But now a number of organizations are looking at how medical assistants work, how they operate, what they're doing, and whether perhaps that whole regulatory process should be elevated to some extent. One of the groups that's looking at that is the Interim Health Committee. They've had several hearings over a period of months with regard to this, and they have another hearing that's going to be held next month with a final hearing in July, where I expect that they will present a bill draft. What they're looking at right now is potentially making some changes. One of the options is to allow MAs, medical assistants, to administer dangerous drugs. That's one of the options. Second one is for the physician to have to verify in some way that the medical assistant working for them has the training and the skill set required to do that. The third one is to have some kind of minimum training requirements. They've actually talked about sort of two avenues for that. One would be training at an approved program, which wouldn't require a subsequent exam. The other would be an unapproved training that would require a subsequent exam. And the fourth alternative that they're looking at is just requiring requiring the physician to register. So at least there would be some knowledge of who was working for the physicians through some sort of a registration process. All of these things are still on the table. There was just a presentation last time. The committee didn't come to any kind of conclusion, so that's an ongoing conversation. The Board of Medical Examiners is also looking at trying to regulate MAs a little more closely, although their approach is to allow the physician to continue to be the responsible party for the MA, but they're talking about, and they have a reg that's in process now as well. They're talking more now about supervision requirements of that MA. And also they're talking about maybe some different rules in rural areas versus urban areas. That's always an interesting dynamic, is how can you apply it?
Can we have it kind of quiet back there because we can't hear what she's saying?
You'll have to talk out in the hallway.
Is how can you apply the rules similarly in urban and rural areas. And then the third group that's looking at this issue right now also is the Board of Nursing. Nurses at this time are allowed to administer Botox injections, but there's a movement in the Board of Nursing to allow for I'm going to look this up here, American Academy of Medical Aesthetic Practitioners certification. So in other words, if you had that certification as an RN, then it wouldn't require you to have a physician do an assessment of the patient and do a treatment plan prior to actually providing treatment to that patient. If you didn't have that certification, then it would require you to have a physician assessment prior to. That is also under development right now, and the board is looking at doing that through a practice decision that they're hoping to process sometime over this summer. So this issue continues to be on the forefront in a number of these venues. The legislative committees would involve a bill draft, so that would actually go to the legislature in the form of a bill. At that point, the whole conversation can explode. Just because they have a bill that's related to one piece of this doesn't mean that the entire delivery of that, service or what medical spas do versus cosmetology establishments and so forth, all of that at that point could, become a more comprehensive conversation. So that's what's going on in the interim. The other thing that's going on in the interim is we're about to enter into a very exciting election cycle. This is really revolutionary for the state of Nevada. This is the first time that term limits are taking effect. We have a number of legislators that are terming out of their current seats, which leaves a lot of open seats, changes the legislative dynamic a great deal. We have 19 open seats in the Assembly and 8 open seats in the Senate. And I'm just going to pass around one copy of each. This is a listing of all the people that are running for the legislature in these open seats. And you'll see that in some of these, one is for the Senate and one is for the Assembly, you'll see that in some of these seats there are 3, 4, 5 people running in the same party against one another in some of these open seats. And it's a real challenge to try to do a couple of things. One is to understand a little bit more about who the really serious candidates are. There's always some candidates who spend $100, file, and then never do anything. So trying to understand who the more important candidates are in the sense that they're working to try to get elected. The other is to try to figure out how to meet all of them, because part of the challenge, I was chatting with someone earlier, is really developing relationships. So you know that of this group, someone's going to win. One person's going to represent that seat, say, from the Assembly. You just don't quite know who it is. And if you wait until the very end and just say, hi, my name's Jeanette, congratulations, you might have really missed a good opportunity to get to know them a little bit more closely beforehand. We also try to figure out whether they have any affiliations to industries that I represent and so forth, so you can kind of make a connection with people. We have another interesting dynamic this time as well, in that the primary is going to be held earlier than it ever has been before. It's going to be on June 8th. I think that's about 43 days from now, which is very soon. Some of these races, even though there will be a general race that will be decided in November, for all intents and purposes, some of these will actually be decided in the primary because the seat is so Republican or so Democratic that the person from the other party probably doesn't have a chance to win. But at this point, we're looking at a phenomenal amount of new legislators, no matter what happens. And where it affects you folks pretty directly is the Commerce and Labor Committees in both of the houses. Commerce and Labor Committee is where board issues go. So most of the time your issues go and are presented in front of that committee. In the Assembly, we have, of the 14 current members on that committee, 8 will not be returning. That's a phenomenally large number. In the Senate, it will be probably 3 or 4 members, depending. In the Senate, you have a 4-year term, and there's one person who's running for another seat, and if they don't win there, then they will be returning. So we're looking at a whole new set of faces to try to interact with. What that means for us in the short term is that the folks that will be there will be probably the more important decision makers, because they're going to know what's going on. It's like being new to anything. Your first year, you're sort of considered a freshman legislator. You're lucky if you kind of know what hearing room to go to, much less how decisions are made. Now, we're not discounting any of those folks, but we certainly are going to be focusing a lot of our attention to the people who helped us before. Folks like Marcus Conklin. As a matter of fact, I'm flying to Vegas this afternoon, and I'm meeting with Marcus this afternoon. He will most likely continue to chair the Assembly Commerce and Labor Committee, and he becomes a very important person to us. The other thing that probably doesn't affect your issues, unless there's something really controversial, But in both of the houses, the Democrats are looking for what's called a veto-proof majority. So they would have enough seats within that house in order to be able to override any kind of veto. They have the required majority. And in the Assembly, the Democrats currently have that. They're looking to try to hold on to that. Republicans are trying to take it away. And in the Senate, they don't have it, but if they pick up another couple of seats, they will be able to have a veto-proof majority. So those are dynamics that just sort of play. Part of this is you start the beginning of the legislative session and you're kind of down at the base of the tree and you're not quite sure what branch you're going to end up on because so many things can change along the way. And the most important thing is to be flexible and to be able to kind of be in a PT boat and be able to move and change as things go. If you go with one plan and that's the only plan you stick to, you're probably not going to do very well. In terms of the 2011 session, some of the issues that may come up, probably the tanning booth issue will most likely not come back in the sense that the person who sponsored that was turned out of office and has not chosen to return in another capacity in another office. So unless someone else feels overwhelmed to pick that up, I don't foresee that coming up at this point. There was an interest by one of the legislators who is up for re-election, and depending on whether she comes back or whether this is a hot button for her, who was looking at trying to regulate tattoo parlors in some way. She felt that the overall regulation of tattoo parlors across the state was inconsistent. A lot of it depended on local control, so we may see that. Interestingly enough, Arizona is looking, in Arizona they're waiting for a ruling on fish pedicures, on whether fish pedicures are, whether the Cosmetology board there can actually ban fish pedicures. Tick Segerbloom, who was the sponsor of that legislation last session, will most likely return, and he's an attorney. I wouldn't be surprised if he was looking at that as well. And it's possible if they overturn the board's decision to ban fish pedicures that he might take another run at it here. We will have some kind of a medical assistance bill draft most likely from the interim committee, and again that might expand some way into cosmetic procedures in general some way. The last thing I see potentially on the horizon, although I don't know how much focus there's going to be on it, is the board's, the effort to sort of either consolidate some board functions, try to make it easier for the public basically to file complaints and so forth. Most of this is really centered around medical, nursing, physicians, facilities licensing and so forth. But there may be some effort to try to, sort of administratively make boards more efficient. Even though boards are supposed to be self-sustaining overall, there's a lot of effort to try to make and create greater value for the public. So there may be some effort in that regard. I was asked as we were coming in, and I thought I'd just throw it in here, how bills are introduced. There are really two major ways that bills are introduced. One is through the legislators themselves. They are given a number. There's more in the Senate. You're given more in the Senate if you're a senator than if you're an assembly representative. But you have a certain number, and you can request those bills prior to the legislative session. The trick here is we've got so many new folks, they won't even know who they are until November. So they may not even have thought a great deal about what they want to introduce by February or about the middle of March is the deadline. So we may actually get less bills. On the other hand, once if you have a bill that you want to introduce, you might try to find one of those new legislators to see if they'll sponsor it. But that's one way. The other way is through the committee structure. So like the interim committee will have a certain number of bills that they can introduce, and Commerce and Labor on both the Senate and the Assembly. If somebody doesn't want to put their name on a bill, frequently they'll run it through the committee structure. the executive branch, attorney general, so forth, they can also introduce bills, but most likely those probably wouldn't affect your board in any way. So that's really how a bill gets introduced. We start finding out what the overall topics are of bills, not necessarily the meat of them, in about July. They start posting a list, and it'll be sort of topically what they're about. So I keep track of those every week, and if I see anything that remotely affects you folks, I forward at least the topic on to Vince, and then if the legislator is identified, then we'll try to find out a little bit more about what it is prior to the beginning of the legislative session. Try to minimize surprises. So that was the material that I wanted to cover this morning, and I'm certainly available for any questions.
Can you talk a little bit about the difficulties many of the boards are talking about trying to avoid the legislative season this year coming up because of the complexity of the new membership and the difficulties of reducing the budget significantly? And many boards are talking about avoiding bringing anything new because they have a sense of a lot of bartering for support or cutting up things that they really don't want to cut out. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, generally, sort of the lobbyist credo is, first of all, it's harder to pass a bill than it is to oppose a bill. So just starting from, even if you have the ideal circumstances, it's much more difficult to pass a bill than it is to fight a bill. Secondly, whenever you introduce a bill, you have to remember, and I talk to my clients about this all the time, you have now opened up a chapter in statute. If I were somebody who wanted to get something done in that chapter, I'm looking every day for new bills that are introduced to see if that particular bill has something in it that I can use to further my agenda, not your agenda, but my agenda, whatever that may be. So you may actually find that your bill becomes a vehicle for other things that other folks are doing. But Vince also brings up, that's just in normal times. Now we have the additional pressure of government. What is the value of government? What is the government budget, and so forth. And there are many people who don't understand that boards are actually self-sustaining. That technically the money that you're taking in is supposed to fund your operations. And there are, frankly, some boards that aren't quite that good at it. They owe the Attorney General's office money because you guys will float it for them. So they're not quite as good at that. But the legislature is taking a close look at anything where you touch the public in terms of what the value is. And there is a great pressure to be fiscally responsible, at all levels. I agree with you. I've also heard sort of anecdotally that boards are thinking about sort of stepping back a little bit, kind of taking a deep breath this session because of those pressures and because of the new folks. Because anytime you go into a legislative session, it's a bit of a wild card. You try to, and we've noted that even with some of the things that we've attempted to put forward. You have to remember, cosmetology is a wide net that's in this state, and as people become aware of issues and so forth, it's pretty easy to call a legislator. Our folks are very accessible, and suddenly you have something that perhaps you didn't think about. So I have also heard that boards are trying to be a little more thoughtful about what they're going to be presenting, because there are some issues out there that just may not even have directly to do with what you're trying to do, but because of the pressures that government feels that they're under right now, that they may not want to go ahead and vote for.
I think one of the things we learned this last session that was very enlightening is we brought up an item, threading for example, that was nothing more than definition change, a clarification of the definition, which morphed into a change of the chapter's ability to even regulate it. And it was a lot of the influence over the decision-making had to do with trading support for this bill, that bill, or on other issues. It had nothing to do with us. So we get caught up in these budgetary processes where it's a real difficult political dynamic going on. That there are people trading back and forth, and sometimes the actual intent of the law is not the most highest priority. And we've seen that before. So the issue coming before us is this going to be even a meaner session than last time because the stakes are higher. We're going through an election. First of all, we have new players. The second part of it is that there is a major move to change direction on how we finance things. There's a great battle between unions and maintaining certain levels of service in the school districts and things like that. And so we get caught up in this dialogue that we may or may not have ever thought about. So one of the concerns we have is that in advance of change, we have to be aware of the political process and know what it means to us. Jeanette's been a master of understanding what the dynamics of it is coming as. And some of the dialogue between her and I in discussing our strategies, it gets to be difficult to decide which is the best way, because I see it more of a puristic philosophy towards cosmetology, because that's where I'm located. She sees it from a bigger picture, what the trade-offs or what the loss factor might look like. So this is really important for the board members to understand this dynamic. It's not as simple we're advancing A, B, or C item. That it's very complex. So having Jeanette on board, feeling the ground to see what kind of tremors we're getting from it really early, and then beginning to anticipate what's coming at us, gives us a little chance to warm up to the idea. The other thing is that we pick and choose our people who are going to go before the legislature to present certain issues very carefully, because we want to make sure the image that Jeanette is presenting as the coordinator of these efforts is consistent, is focused, and deals exactly what we want. We don't get sidetracked by accident or say things we shouldn't be saying that causes a difficulty for the legislators to figure out what we really want. So I've really admired her skills, the skill pattern in doing that, and I really appreciate the day-to-day briefing constantly I get. I probably get 3 or 4 emails every single day about what this is happening, that's happening, who's running for a particular office, and what it means to us. Or I think you need to look at this item because it may affect you sometime down the line. So it's really been a pleasure to work with her. But you need to know that this is an ongoing, everyday effort, not just once in a great while. This is a constant battle. Jeanette, I really appreciate you coming today.
Thank you.
If you have any further questions of Jeanette, feel free to come through me at any time, because she responds very quickly. We have a good relationship. And of course, she drags me kicking and screaming up to Carson City in the legislature session, even when I don't want to go. I have to go.
The worst part is not knowing how long you have to stay.
Usually it's all day.
I know.
I arrive at 9 and I'm lucky to catch a 5 or 7 o'clock flight.
You're lucky you're not like one of my clients. He was running down to Penny's to get shirts for the
I
next
did
day.
that last year. But anyway, thank you very much. Do you have any further questions?
I was just wondering if this was something that we could,
Can I get a copy of that?
Absolutely. Yep. I'll file it
Just-
electronically.
Yeah, send it to me, and I'll pass it on to everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll make sure we do that.
Well, thank you.
thank
We
you.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the great work.
Oh, I enjoy the relationship. Great.
As to be.
Bye.
Jeanette, you want to keep that?
You can keep that, and I'll get you an electronic
All
copy.
right, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the next item, field citation, St. Rose Nail Salon. Requesting a field citation, CM-88, alleged violation of NRS 644-360. That's it.
Put an extra chair here.
Morning.
I'm going to set you right over there.
I'm going to stand up first so I can find you on from.
Can we scoot you over a little because there's 4 of us? I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Sure.
She's another gentleman, but he's inside, but she can't see him right today.
All right, do I get any?
Yeah.
You tell me.
Let me get sworn in first.
We have one translator. Raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will translate to the best of your ability the proceedings before the State Board of Cosmetology?
I do.
Ladies, do provide a translator to make sure that the dialogue, that the conversation is accurately reported by the court reporter.
Okay,
That
because
we have
I
direct.
thought I was here to translate.
No, we don't accept friends, relatives, or other people as
Legally fair.
Okay.
This is like the courthouse.
Okay,
He's
yes.
representing the
whole
employee
time.
of the court system versus a friend, or so he's going to verbatim translate what she's asked and what her response is.
Does she need to be sworn in too?
If she's not going to be performing as a translator, she can just step back.
Right, she needs.
I didn't even know I couldn't.
But,
I dropped my daughter. Okay, yes, all right.
but she needs to be sworn.
Yeah.
The appellant. Ma'am,
Yeah.
if you would, and sir, if you could translate the oath to her.
Right.
Do you,
Muy bien.
if you raise your right hand.
Come.
High
High five.
Yes.
I'm their boy.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm
By noite, du come.
Yes.
the testimony you're about to give before this board
By noite, dunka.
Yeah.
to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Noite. Thank
Charlene, I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize these documents?
I do. And what would they be? That's the citation that I issued to Van Kim Vogue, actually to her salon. And it was on August 6th of 2009, last summer.
Tam, trip. Tam, when we did.
Yeah.
It's me, in fact, Bobby at Mumbai, Nam trip.
Yeah.
Ba lam get up to him,
Yeah.
Người đến làm mông thải.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd ask that Charlene be sworn in before we begin. I apologize.
So again, raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. And I believe the board has what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 1 in their materials for the meeting. And I'd ask that these materials be admitted to evidence as State's Exhibit 1. And I provided you with a copy of these same forms. I believe it's the letter that you sent and the citation, copies of all those materials.
Bà biết cái này là chiên ảnh, bà nói chuyện họ biết chiên ảnh, phải không?
Yeah.
It's her letter.
Ms. Marsh, can you please state your name and your last name for the record?
Charlene Marsh, M-A-R-S-H.
And who's your employer?
The Madison Board of Cosmetology.
And what is your job title?
Field and Office Assistant 1.
Is Cosmetology specifically Tips and Toes Nail Salon in Callan?
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Well, it's just on a routine inspection, and they're on my route list, so it was one of the stops I made from Fallon that day,
And what day was that?
August 6th, 2009.
And what did you see on that day in the salon?
Well, as I walked in, man Luang Ti Wen was standing at the second station with a shampoo drape in his hand, and that's at the left side of the salon as you're walking in. The man was standing by the same chair and getting ready to sit down. I identified myself, and the owner, Van Ken Bo, got very excited and started yelling. She was not yelling in English.
Stop for just 1 sec so he can translate what you're saying.
Ba này nói, ăn trước, ăn thăm. Ba này đến, điểm nói làm sao là typical là mong thải. Ba này đến, thế ấn chủ và mấy người mong thải.
Have you translated everything that we've said? I'm just worried
I
because
just did,
we've
yeah.
had, okay, because there were some other things, okay. If you want to translate as we're talking, you can do that too.
That is not practical in the sense that, you know, it's easy enough to put English into Vietnamese, Vietnamese into English, but the thing is, we're talking here legal terminology being party to the third part. Displaying habeas corpus, which doesn't obviously apply here, but legal terminology jargon isn't something they're hands-on with. Translated in their own language, they still don't know what this constitutional business is. They're saying Bill of Rights, Civil Rights, here's a citation of the license, how does that apply? It's kind of like a lawyer situation. It's best that they speak, I translate. She speaks, I translate.
So what we'll do,
Short version.
yeah. Okay, and so you said you went into the salon and you saw, I believe you said Long Nguyen?
Ti Wen, right?
Nguyen, okay. And then what happened?
Well, I went to the station Long Ti Wen was standing at and asked where his license was. Long said he wasn't licensed and was not working there. The client stated,
Charlie, do short verse so you can translate. So there's a couple sentences at a time.
Ba này nói, Nam trước bà đến tiệm thấy ông Thi Nguyen, làm việc ở đó nhưng mà không có thể chính phủ chỗ làm việc ở đó.
And what did Mr. Long Ti Wen say?
he stated that he wasn't licensed and was not working there.
Ông Long làm việc ở tiệm này, nói chuyện cho bà biết, không có thể chính phủ làm việc ở đó.
And then what did the client tell you?
That he was going to get a haircut.
Ông Long nói, ông đó đang đi làm kết thúc.
And what did the client look like?
The client was taller than I am, and I'm 6 feet, and he had white hair and it was a little long. And he stated that he worked at the Enterprise car rental next door.
Ông Long là khá lắm, có tóc màu trắng, có đúng không?
And so did you ask for identification from Mr. Ti Wen?
I did, and I asked several times, and he would not give identification.
Bà này hỏi ông Thi Nguyen cho thẻ căn cước, ông đó nói không có.
And then what did you say?
I said that I would call the police for assistance.
Bà đã gửi cảnh sát.
And what did the owner say to you at that time?
She was upset, and she did say to go ahead and call the police.
Bà có nói cho bà biết gửi cảnh sát không?
And did she say that he was performing a haircut?
She denied that the whole time.
Bà này nói bà cãi nhau với bà này lần đó. Hai người cãi nhau và năm trước khi nào bà này đến có cãi nhau.
And did you see other cosmetology licenses posted at the salon?
There were no cosmetology licenses posted at that time.
Không có người nào ở tiệm mà có thể chính phủ làm mông thải.
And so then what did you do?
I called Jill at the Reno office and explained the situation and asked Jill for the Fallon police number. She gave me the number and I called the Fallon police for assistance.
Bà này gửi cảnh sát đến tiệm.
And did a police officer arrive?
He did, Officer Tom Picell, and he was very helpful.
Tom Picell là cảnh sát, người cảnh sát đến giúp đỡ.
And what, was he able to get identification for Mr. T-Win?
Yes, Mr. T-Win gave him his California driver's license, and Officer Picell gave it to me, and I immediately copied the information and wrote the citation.
Người đó cho bà này thẻ sản xuất chiêu bán California. Lái xe.
Yeah.
And he helped you calm down the situation.
He did. There was no more yelling at that point.
Cảnh sát giúp đỡ nhiều lắm.
And then what happened?
Well, I issued the citations and I left. And I did call Jill back for the information on the cosmetologist listed for the salon.
I'm sorry, can you say that last sentence again?
I called Jill back for information on the cosmetologist that was listed for the salon on the salon application.
Bà này gọi điện thoại ở trên phố hỏi muốn biết cái gì về bà, biết cái tên, cái thẻ, việc gì.
And who was that cosmetologist listed?
Lori Mode, we had her PN number as 10839.
Oh, okay. Có Laura Moat.
Yes.
So Laura Moat là người Mông Thái ở đó. Có một người Mông Thái. Laura Moat she is
A cosmetologist.
người Mông Thái.
And what did the owner tell you about Ms. Moon?
Van Kinfo had stated earlier that she had hurt her back and was not working there anymore.
Có một cô gái Kim Phô nói là đau cái lượng không có làm việc more nữa.
Yeah.
And then what happened while you were writing the citation?
In the process of writing the citations, Van Kinfo ran outside. I noticed Van talking to a woman with a man and two children.
Trong lúc này, ông Van Kim Phô chạy ra tiệm nói chuyện với hai người đàn ở ngoài.
And what happened then?
Van had asked her if she would come back later, and I asked the woman if she was coming to get her nails done.
Bà này nói người đó trở về vào tiệm đi.
And what did the woman say?
The woman stated she was going to have Van wax her eyebrows, and I stated that Van did not have a license to wax, only a license for doing nails.
Bà này nói cho bà biết câu này mong đại ở tiệm không có thể chính phủ làm cái này, còn cái này mong đại không phải là cái này ở đây.
And then what happened?
I gave the woman actually one of my business cards that were given through the office, her building office inspector, and asked her to call the Reno office, but she declined and did not want to get involved.
Bà này cho một cái thẻ ở tiệm cho khách tên của bà đó biết cho bà.
And then what happened?
Well, another man in the salon, Buck Downwind, and his PN number, 14574, then posted a hairdresser wanted sign in the window with blue tape.
Có một người làm việc ở đó lúc này người làm cho một cái giấy cái cửa như cái này, cái cửa kia hay là ở tiệm có một cái giấy đang cho người xem coi.
And did you finish the citations?
I did.
And did you explain to the parties?
I did try to explain, and there was a bit of a language barrier, and Tom Picell, officer, actually had them sign the citations. I didn't request that. He was telling them they should sign.
Lúc đó bà này đang nói chuyện với bà, thay vì bà không có nói tiếng Anh, có vấn đề, bà cảnh sát giúp đỡ.
And what did you write the citation for?
For unlicensed activity.
Bà cho bà biết tại
And was
một
this,
giấy tại thẻ thẻ chính phủ cấp mông thải.
and was this the first offense for Tips and Toes Nail Salon?
For this PN number, yes. For that salon, no, they had changed service. So this was the first one with a full service salon for that.
Can I ask something? The first, they changed services, is that a change of business?
It does.
Okay, so this is like new business change hands? This is your first time talking with her? That was the first time?
May I ask a question?
Okay, so I guess my question was, and maybe I need to clarify, is this the first time that this owner was cited?
No.
To clarify, Charlene, you're saying these added more services on to the current business?
She had been nails only and changed to full service.
That's what,
You can't ask at that point.
Okay, so the answer to the question was, this is not the first citation that this owner had received?
No.
Okay.
Bà này đến tiệm một lần, hai lần, lần này không phải là đầu tiên. Bà này nói đến tiệm một lần, hai lần, lần này bà đến thay vì phải có đất chức vụ theo căn cước mông thải. Thay vì tiệm Tip and Toe, thải mông thải và thải khai là được không? Vậy thì bà này chọn thế.
So this was not the first citation that this owner received. What were the other citations that this owner had received for?
The first one I gave Van was for unlicensed activity prior to becoming a licensed manicurist in the state.
Bà này đã có và nói khác nhau lần trước, lần trước, lần này, lần trước. Bà nói đã nói chuyện với bà hai lần.
And then what was there a second citation?
The second citation was when she opened her salon in Fallon and she did not have a salon establishment license for this.
Bà mới tiệm thành phố Fallon. Phải không? Thành phố Fallon.
Dạ.
And then was there a third citation?
The third citation was when I went out to do the first inspection on her salon after she was licensed, and two people got up and ran. They had been working and ran.
Khi nào bà đến tiệm này, bà vào tiệm, hai người chạy ra, đi hướng ra ngoài.
And so the one we're talking about right now is the fourth citation.
Yes.
Okay. Bà này nói tất cả tiệm Tip and Toe, tiệm Fallon, theo căn cước và tất cả là công khai khác nhau.
I believe that's all the questions that I have for Ms. Marsh. If the respondent has questions for her.
Bà muốn hỏi cái gì không?
Tôi muốn nói những cái điều mà bà tới tiệm tôi bà làm không đúng sự thật. Tôi muốn nói cho mấy người hiểu tôi nói.
Well, wish you would understand, I'll translate. Bà nói chuyện với tôi thông nhận cho tất cả người hiểu.
It's not time for her to speak if she wants to testify. That'll be next. Right now, it's just time for her to ask questions of the inspector if she has any. If she doesn't, then the board gets to ask questions of the inspector, and she'll get to talk next.
Trước hết, nếu bà muốn hỏi bà này cái gì không? Bà này một mình, bà này thôi. Bà muốn hỏi câu này không?
Tôi muốn hỏi bà này cái gì không? Tôi muốn nói là bà nói không đúng những cái lời ở trong, bà tới tiệm tôi, bà bắt tôi, bà nói không đúng.
Now what you're saying, is that correct? Cái gì nữa không?
Dạ, tôi muốn nói là những điều bà nói là hoàn toàn sai, không có đúng như bà bắt tôi, bà nói trong giấy.
Well, That is not right. That isn't, it's not right, it is wrong.
Well, this would be a question. Yes, a question is not.
Well,
Just questions about what she said and saw, what she just testified to.
it's a general statement, it's a cultural thing, that's the way their culture or society works. You know, they just say this isn't, I would, in proper English, in American language, as a word, legal terminology, we'd be like saying there's a disparity between saying there's not disputing the point here, whether someone ran or whether they did not have a license. Say the culmination of events is not entirely correct.
Okay.
He's not saying like she's wrong, she's right. She's just saying there's a deviation here.
So she doesn't have any questions
Not
for Ms. Marsh?
not beyond that. No.
Okay, and I think it's now time for the board then to ask questions of Ms. Marsh. So maybe what we can do is you can ask the question and maybe he can translate the question and then she can answer and you can translate the answer. That way she understands what's being said.
Mine wasn't actually a question before, it was just to help clarify what Charlie was saying.
Do we have any questions? Ms. Marsh, when you do your job, part of your work, would you carry a camera with you?
Wait, do we let him translate?
Banai hoi, banai. By call, chip in, come, call, chip.
Actually, we have been provided with the camera, and I did not take it that day. I did take a picture of Wang Wen, and it's in that file with this.
Banai noi, come call you, chip in, come call on.
When at that station where he was going to perform, was there the haircut? Was there anything other than a drape? Were there scissors sitting out, hairspray, that sort of thing?
There were no visible instruments there at that station. He had his hand on the chair and a drape in the other hand.
Banai hoi, Lutrut, Inao, Nuidana, Tim, Dangma, Tipinto, Lang Kaye, Konyao, Dung and Day, Lang Kaye, Konai Noi, No, Moy, Dung Den, Tim.
I have a question.
I'm not finished.
Well, I think it's important that this is interjected. Under your, Charlie, under your understanding on Nevada state law, is it admissible or is anybody allowed to even shampoo in a establishment without a license?
No.
Okay.
Banai hoi,
Hang on a second.
Let him translate.
Oh, okay.
Chính cho phép người dùng thức gọi người thay đổi có đúng không? Câu này nói đúng cho phép.
Okay, my next question is, you were able to obtain the person that was getting the haircut, his employment and everything, but not his name. Can you explain why we're not able to get his name?
Bạn này đang hỏi người đàn ông ở tiệm thay tên nhưng không có lấy được.
He declined. I do ask for that information, and he declined. A lot of people do not want to get involved.
Người đàn ông đó không có cho tên. Bạn này hỏi cho thay tên đi. Thay tên là cái gì? Ông đó không nói.
Okay. Ms. Marsh, do you carry a cell phone with you?
I do, always.
Bạn này hỏi bạn này có điện thoại không? Câu này nói đúng chắc.
Is it standard of practice to call your office first for the police phone number? Or would you directly call?
Bạn này hỏi bạn này có dùng điện thoại gửi chỗ nào không?
That's actually the first time I really considered it necessary to call a policeman, and I didn't have the phone number with me, and I knew Jill would access it faster than I would.
Bạn này nói dùng điện thoại, lần này là lần đầu tiên dùng điện thoại.
Can I ask you to explain why you felt it necessary?
There's an implied consent when I go into any salon, and that because they are salon establishment licensed under us, and we have a right to verify licenses, And that wasn't going to happen in this circumstances. And due to past circumstances where the people had run, and this gentleman also started to run and then decided not to, I decided to get assistance so that in the future, when an inspector came into the salon, there would be a helpful attitude and compliance.
Ba này hỏi tại sao ba này gọi điện thoại. Ba này nói bà có quyền đến tiệm xem coi khách trẻ và khi nào bà này thấy người đàn ông trai ra gọi điện thoại để cho cảnh sát.
And did Officer Purcell stay with you through the whole, until you got ready to leave?
Bà hỏi cảnh sát khi nào bà này với cảnh sát đến và đứng ở đó chờ cho bà này làm việc gì.
Officer Picell did stay the whole time until he encouraged them to sign the citations, and they're not required to, but he did encourage them to. And he'd actually gotten my driver's license and my card as well through that time, and he gave that back to me when that was all done and I left, and he stayed after I left.
Bà này nói người cảnh sát đến tiệm giúp đỡ cho cô này biết cách để cho bà và mỗi bà khi tên giúp đỡ cho bà này, sau đó bà này ra đi.
Ms. Marsh, why wasn't a citation issued for the eyebrow waxing?
There was,
Bà này hỏi tại sao bà này không có viết thẻ. Người Mông Thái phải cũng có thẻ có phép chức vụ làm cái này, nhưng bà này không có cho.
she didn't do the eyebrow waxing. She'd had an appointment for this woman to have an eyebrow waxing, so I did not see her doing that.
Bà này chưa thấy bà làm cái này.
And on a full-service salon, do they have to have one of everything in there? Do you have to have a hairdresser, a nail person, a facial person on a full-service salon?
Bà này hỏi, bà này ở tiệm này họ có tức gọi, họ có dùng cái gì, dùng cái dao, dùng một cái nhỏ, hay mà cái gì.
With a full-service salon, you have to have a cosmetologist on board that can do everything, or you have to have one of each licensee, hair designer, esthetician, and nail tech, and that would cover all three services as well. But a cosmetologist on board would do all of those.
Bà này nói ở tiệm này, ở tiệm Bình Thâu phải có người Mông Thái đi viện làm hai cái này cũng làm việc gì.
My last question is, maybe you just answered it, the posting of the hairdresser sign, what was the significance of that?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
The posting of a hairdresser sign, what was the significance of that?
Okay. Bà hỏi bà này, tại sao lúc đó ở tiệm có một người lấy tờ giấy cánh cửa, nói làm tại sao làm cái đó?
And that is right. The significance is that they have to have a license posted that covers all the services that's offered in the salon.
Bà nói chính phủ ra lệnh người có tiệm nghi viên, người Mông Thái phải có giấy ở tiệm cho người xem coi, cho hành khách xem coi.
That concludes my questions, Council.
Any other questions?
Now it's time for her to speak. She can testify however she'd like.
Bây giờ họ cho bà thì bà nói chuyện đi, nói cho mấy người này kiểu bà muốn nói hay là không muốn nói được không?
She can also call witnesses if she's brought witnesses to testify.
Và có người bạn ở đây cũng muốn nói chuyện không?
Dạ
Có,
có con gái,
ở đây.
dạ con gái.
So however she'd like to do that, if she wants to be first or have her witness first, she can do either one.
Có lẽ cô bạn gái Den dag når jeg gav det, og der er ikke noget til, så jeg tog ikke, det kom.
Dạ.
Cô này biết nói tiếng Anh, phải không?
Biết nói tiếng Anh.
She knows how to speak English.
Oh, okay. And then the other thing that can happen as well is once she testifies or the witness does, then I get to ask questions.
Yeah. I mean, her intent here is it's preferential if she testifies. Now, she can sit here, I'll just stand over here.
Okay. I mean, I don't care. I just
I'll go back and
wanted her
forth.
to know what the process
I'm
is.
actually not a witness. I was supposed to come here and translate for her.
Oh,
And
excuse me.
from what I'm hearing, I don't think she understood pretty much anything you've said. To be honest with you, I'm just letting you know. If I were to translate it, she would tell you exactly yes or no, because in this whole point, she kept on nodding her head and nodding her head, because I don't think what you're translating and what is being said, honestly, I'm bilingual.
Are you Vietnamese?
Yes, I am.
Nói chuyện
Fluent
tiếng
in
Việt Nam.
Vietnamese.
Ba là
But
người
it
Việt
just
Nam.
seems like from what I'm hearing back here,
Can we
it
take maybe a,
absolutely.
Well, can you demonstrate your fluency?
let's take a 10-minute
We're taking a 10-minute break.
Đó thì my daughter.
Your daughter, yeah.
Right.
We're going to take a 10-minute break and discuss
You
this.
can get this straightened out, because this is, it's 10:05.
What they're talking about is that you need to chat with her and resolve whether your translation, they're objecting to your translation, is what I'm hearing.
Well, that would require competence, that is to say, if she speaks Vietnamese herself.
Well, I think she
I mean, she
does.
just told me exactly what I
Yeah, but
said.
that's, I recognize that. But what she's saying is she's challenging your
Yep.
definitions or the translation. And that's a problem for us legally, because you are the official translator from the system that is used in the state.
I could prove my fluency. I was interpreter at Hanoi Peace Delegation 73.
No, we're not questioning yours. She's the one that's raised the issue.
That's what
So,
I said.
would you chat with her for a few moments?
Can she challenge her first?
Yes, but that's illegal. It's not what we're.
I think she's questioning whether mother's understanding what she's saying.
Well, it's like just 30 seconds.
That we have an additional hearing.
Yeah. Because then she would, for due process reasons, she might have a hearing. And so all she's been told is that this citation is being considered and she might be fined or she might not be. She hasn't been told that other possible things could happen. And so if we want to potentially look into that, we'd have to give her fair notice of that before the hearing.
Bà này thấy nhiều, thấy nói, thầy bà không có nói tiếng Anh tốt, thầy vì bà chưa học tiếng Anh, có hiểu việc này, cái này là quá là khó quá, khó hiểu. Cô này cách nhà nói là không phải là phạm tội.
You are free, though, if you'd like to recommend it. I mean, you can tell her, we really think you would benefit from X and Y, but to require it today, you can't do.
Well, that has to be another. Is there any more discussion?
I just wanted to find out what to do as far as
You vote on,
We
wanting it for
we need to
hearing.
vote on this.
that's separate. That's-
next discussion.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and then we go into the penalty phase.
Could you translate that to her? They just voted to uphold the citation, so she was found guilty of violating NRS 644.360 sub 2.
So vâng, họ nói bà phạm tội.
Sorry. So we're going into the penalty phase part of this, correct?
You're either going to uphold the $1,000 citation or
Một
or
ngàn đô
modify
la
it, but
hay
you
không?
can't go beyond 1,000 because that's what she's been noticed for.
And why was that?
Because it's an appeal of citation and that's what's written on its face.
But why was she only fined $1,000?
Because that's based on the schedule, I believe. If you look in NRC,
But on fourth violation, it says it could be up to 2,000, or third violation.
But it's not on the same number. I mean,
I
the
see.
first one was her mail license, the second one
I see what you're saying. It
and
says
then
Yeah.
a different.
Okay.
different, I think, license numbers for the same owner.
Is it possible that I might beg jurisprudence? This is, to my mind, not a matter of intent. It is, as it were, a negligence, a benign thing. It's not like she's a criminal type or something. No, she didn't mean to do this. She was not intent.
But it's her responsibility
I
to
see
be
that.
watching over the public.
I see.
I just would like to state that I do have a problem with the fact that we have, even if they are different citations, that we do have a number of them, and they all tend to be in the unlicensed area. And so, as far as that part of it goes, I would like to bring this person back.
That would be something for you all to make a motion on then.
I'd make a motion then to give the opportunity to Ms. Van Vo, her petition to come back before our August meeting.
No.
Isn't that what we would do?
No, the board is, no. She issued a formal complaint, and the board would ask that she come back for a hearing based on the unlicensed activities, and you're looking at, I think, NAC 644.700 sub 2.
Maybe let Jim know on the record. Maybe I can help. If she was noticed for a single violation, you looked at more than one. The issue is fine. You would have to find the person guilty if you did that. Now you have to set the penalty for this particular offense, but it does not tie your hands for requesting the entire review of the file of all violations. That is, in some codes called maintaining negligence establishment. And this one, I don't know what we can call it. We don't have a term for it, but it's the same thing. It's a review of all the activity in that license because there is a number of violations that cause concern to the jury. So I think that's where Ms. Bradley is going. Resolve the case today. You can then direct staff to review the entire case and bring it back to the board for
Essentially what you'd be doing is like an order to show cause why further discipline should not be done. And so you're essentially setting a hearing, and she'll come and we'll present everything, and then she'll say basically why she shouldn't have any further disciplinary action beyond the upholding of this citation or not.
Nói giống nhau của bạn xưa. Câu này nói không phải là phạm tội của phía người khác nhau, nhưng mà tội tin và không vi phạm. Ở đây là số 1 là một việc không nên đó là tội tin hoặc không vi phạm.
So I think you've already found her guilty of this violation, and so it's your choice to uphold the $1,000 fine or not, or to reduce the fine. You can't go beyond the $1,000 because that's what she's been told.
Let's
Bắt đến hay không? Câu này hỏi.
to uphold the fine of $1,000.
Okay, Member Austin, we have a motion to
I'll second that.
request $1,000 fine, seconded by Ms. Booth.
Now we'll go for discussion. And here's where it comes into that.
Okay. Are you adding that to?
No.
Okay, so it's seconded by Ms. Booth. Now we'll open the discussion. Okay? Is that right?
Got it. Sorry. Okay. Here's where like Sarah said, but different multiple violations, all for unlicensed. So I feel the maximum, absolutely,
Nói một ngàn đô la.
that we can.
Right. In addition to the educational piece, I think that's really
We shouldn't
important.
have that on. That's separate.
Mr. Leader?
I just want to double check, Ms. Bradley, if this motion or if this second specified the terms of the payment, and then if the payment is not meeting those terms, that the board would ask that she come before further disciplinary action, in addition to the certified translator being provided for in that fine structure.
Ngày vừa biết nếu họ phát triển và cho tiền làm sao?
For citation appeal, it's really just the dollar amount of the citation, so you can't charge her for the court reporter. At a hearing, you can, but everybody has a right to appeal their citation, and we don't impose the cost. But I think if you'd like to say that the $1,000 fine should be paid within a time period, that would be fine, and then it would sort of maybe, again, spur the coming back. It sounds like you want to see her again anyway.
So I'll defer that to Mr. Austin, since he made the original motion.
To amend it to be paid within 6 months.
Ai cả năm nay cách nhau.
Do you want to?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any more discussion? It was a motion made by Mr. Austin, seconded by Ms. Booth. So there's no more discussion. We'll take it to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Is there any question or means you can find?
Oh, wait.
Did we have?
Yeah, I'd like you to vote for that. So, yes, she's been found guilty of violating NRS 644.360 sub 2 and fined the $1,000 citation with fine was upheld.
Phát triển một ngàn $1,000.
But she has.
And she has
within
6 months to pay that fine.
Sao tháng cho tiền.
And And she can make payments if she wants to the office.
Và có thể cho tiền một tháng $100, hai tháng $200.
Ông cho tôi nói lại với mấy người này. Tôi không có, người ta không có cắt tóc mà phạt cho tôi như vậy, tội cho tôi quá, thì tôi cũng không biết nói làm sao. Tại tôi bị phạt, tôi biết lực, tôi cũng đâu có dám làm. Có cảnh sát nó làm chứng cho tôi là tôi
She
không.
cooperated with the police, and this is an extreme situation for her.
She will get a final order in the mail in writing telling her this. And I know she maybe won't be able to read it, but maybe her children or her husband can help her.
Ngày mốt ở nhà bà lấy được người này biết đến nhà bà.
Dạ, tôi.
Xem coi.
Dạ, tôi sẽ xuống với kêu mượn ông cảnh sát với cái thơ. Có thấy rằng tôi không có cắt tóc, cái người đó không có cắt tóc.
She has the police officer that was involved in saying, will make a statement that there was no haircut business going on.
He doesn't know that he arrived after the fact.
Yes.
All right.
Well, they've already made the guilty finding. If she wants to appeal that, she can ask the board to reconsider it. But not right now. She'd have to do that in writing after the meeting.
Nếu bà muốn kêu gọi mới, bà phải viết tờ cho bà này.
And you need to vote on whether or not you want her to come back
Okay,
for a
I
hearing.
want, do we need
I'd
a
like to make a
motion?
motion that we approve back at the next Reno board meeting in August to
Motion made.
discuss further,
Retrieve the file.
review of all discuss past second.
Pursuant to NAC 644.7 sub 2.
Motion made by Mr. Austin. Second. Second by Ms. Jones. Discussion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
And what that was is because of the number of unlicensed activity citations for the same owner, the board has asked, based on NAC 644-700 sub 2, that she come back for a full hearing in August. And they'll
Bà trở về đây, tại vì họ có 4 tháng, tất cả là 4 tháng. Hôm nay là số 4, nhưng mà có số 1, số 2, số 3, số 4. You got
And what they'll do then is they will review her file and maybe think about adding additional things like education requirements or other things. It could even be a suspension for a time period or probation.
Thăm và trở về đây, người này nói chuyện với nữa, có lẽ họ cho bà học tiếng Anh hay học với người giúp đỡ không giúp đỡ than thán.
Ông nói lại tôi rất là khó khăn mỗi khi giấy tờ đó, tôi phải nhờ con tôi nó thông dịch việc cho tôi.
She having a hard time with this. Her relatives that work can only go so far with it.
Nhưng cái chuyện này á, thì bà này bà bắt tôi á, thì rất là quan cho tôi.
Really want to do it. They're willing to now. She is
Well,
so willing.
she'll get paperwork in the mail, and the board has actually voted on all of those things, and so they've made their decision right now.
Yeah.
She'll receive it in the mail. If she'd like to ask for a written reconsideration, she can do that, but she'll get it all in the mail in writing, and
Bây giờ Việt Nam sống rồi, sống quyết, chúng tôi sống và
Vậy
phải.
là bây giờ tôi phải phạt.
Đúng rồi. Một
Để
cái
tôi
đó.
hỏi chồng tôi.
Nếu bà muốn theo rồi mới.
Đó là
So we need to move on, and so we thank you, and
hỏi
you'll be receiving it.
cho tôi trở lại một lần nữa được không?
Họ viết cho này nè. Bây giờ chúng tôi sống.
5-minute break.
Nào cứ. Đúng rồi.
Of course, I misplaced that paper. What's the name of the two places for the Reno people?
For the, no, Jill already did it for us. She already did it.
Oh, great,
Thank you.
great.
What is that for?
Oh, it's a little survey so that the board members can say where they want to stay when it comes to those places. One for Las Vegas and one for Reno.
I don't think they did.
Okay, I have.
I'll leave those in case you guys need them.
To check if they deducted the cost of the cruise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I know.
Oh, one up.
Might as well wait for a few minutes.
All right.
It's Hope, the rest of it.
Translation
I don't know.
Is she sitting behind you?
Both of them.
Yes, it is a citation problem. She told me she didn't really speak English.
Yeah, you want to wait until before, on the next case before you go.
I have a question.
No, they're Vietnamese.
I'm good.
Sarah, I have a question.
I'm retired. I just do something fine.
We appreciate it.
Her own mother said twice. She told me I don't know. She's second generation.
Oh, you
I
bet.
don't know if it'll help me, but it's
The police report's in there too. You probably already had that.
I don't know if it's
No, it's in there.
I might have it.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Alleged violation of NAC.
Yes.
Okay, so she should sit back and kick me in here. Okay.
Now, you're going to need a translation. Translate it.
So, by calling a Tony again, I don't.
You speak English well enough to understand everything.
COVID.
First name, Ms. Costanza, are you testifying to this case? Or you just wanted to?
Okay, I'm just trying to see if we can get a chair.
That's,
Too big?
no, you're fine.
Where do you want me to?
I'll go on the other side of the,
Wendy.
yeah.
Okay, and if you could pass this down, please.
Okay, bye, Wendy.
That may not be admissible.
Let me just wait. Okay. Yeah, I'll pass those out. Oh, sorry. That's okay.
That is admissible.
If you need to raise your right hand. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Leute, they come. Wendy. Wendy.
Ms. Costanza, I am showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize these documents?
I do.
And what are they?
They are the citations and reports that we fill out.
understand anything? You, Ryan, does understand.
And the last one you may not have seen is a statement that Ms. Costanza prepared for the board today. So this one's probably new.
Oh, no, we had kind
Do you have any objection to them being admitted into evidence?
So, well, you, right, he does understand and will allow it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costanza, can you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go ahead and translate the question if you want. If you want to do it like that.
Nej, har kopier så nu nej, you type via cheater. Go ahead.
Costanza, and the last name is capital Costan, Z as in zebra A.
Kogai Costanza.
And who is your employer?
Kona Lamia got a wait your voice.
Oh,
I
no,
just
wait for you
translate.
to done. Okay.
He knows it too.
Nevada State Board of Cosmetology.
And what is your job? Oh, sorry.
Konai Chimpu Monkai.
And what's your job title?
I'm an inspector.
Konai Yu Tra. Lumia Luis Kansat.
And as a part of your duties as inspector with the State Board of Cosmetology, did you become aware of the respondent in this case, Tina T. Nguyen?
Konai got him sure.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Konai say Lamia. I'm telling her what.
Okay, I'll just wait for everybody. On August 20th, this is where I go into
Yes.
explain. I had a routine.
And just do it in a couple sentences, and then he'll translate, and then I'll follow up.
Okay, perfect.
Konai then Yu Tra.
Okay, I had a routine inspection of the mall, and when I was walking through the mall, I noticed that Mirage Spa, day spa lights were on, and it was open.
Konai Tatum, Murad, Mudjim, Mugga, Car Taylor.
And then what happened?
Well, I knew, at that point in time, I knew that the Mirage Day Spa was not licensed because it was not on my routine inspection sheet.
Bobby, Jim, Daw, Murad, Car Yaka, La Mumkai.
Can I interrupt just a second? Ms. Nguyen, do you understand English? And so you were understanding some of this, and you said you would ask the interpreter to interpret if you needed. No. Okay, so I don't know that you'd have to interpret.
Oh, okay, I'll wait. Yes.
Okay. So then what happened?
On entering the establishment, there was a person giving a pedicure in the pedi station, and that was EN number M104817, Tide Nguyen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And at one of the hair stations, there was another gal, Julia, was putting foils and color on the client. Her number is PN, age 657. I asked to speak to the owner, Frank. High-end Tran owner came forward. In our conversation, he stated that he had applied for a license but never brought in the application or paid for it to get the license. Excuse me. I told him that he was in violation of NRS 644-190.1, operating an establishment without a license. I also explained the fine and what he had to do next to get the license. I also started to tell him the other girls were in violation also, and he started to get abusive. At that point in time, I gathered my things and left and went back to the office. Just like that. That's what we had been instructed to do from our chief inspector, Annie Curtis, if there was starting to be a problem out in the field talking to people, and that's what I did.
And so did you issue a citation to Ms. Nguyen?
I did. I went back and wrote out the citations and then called Annie and let her know what was going on, and then we went back and issued the citations.
And what was the citation for Ms. Nguyen for?
working in a establishment that was not licensed. I don't have my book.
Is that NAC .38071?
I think so.
And was this the first citation to Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
And did Ms. Nguyen say anything to you when you were at the stadium, and did you get a chance to speak to her? Any further questions for you at this time? Do you have questions for her? No questions. So it's to the board to ask questions to please stand up.
One question? Questions?
Yes, now you can go ahead and testify or call witnesses if you'd like. And then I get to ask you a question, or if I have anything to ask you.
I just have a week there that I didn't know he didn't have a license.
She didn't know the owner had a license or not.
I have a business license. I just ran the book.
She has certification. Paul Yang Festival La Montaña. She does.
So you have a license.
Yeah, I have a business license.
Okay.
You all want to see this?
I don't, City Reno is fine. But you have a license with the board too.
Yeah.
And you said you were renting a booth.
Yeah. I just worked for because he came. I just worked there for a few days, so I didn't know he didn't have a license.
Do you know me?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'd like to recuse myself from this.
Any other question?
I have a question. Mr. Jimno, what is the policy of individual licensees being aware of an establishment license? Or do we have a general policy on that?
There's nothing real. The general policy is that any licensee has to know as part of their licensing procedure that they're supposed to work in a licensed establishment. It's a basic criteria of graduation. In this case, she's indicating that she was not personally aware of the license was there or active. So that's the issue here. But they are required to know that they're supposed to work in a licensed establishment.
So in order for me to be an individual licensed esthetician, I have to be working in a licensed cosmetological establishment.
That's correct.
I have another quick question. I'm not quite sure if it's to either, but is there any reason why Frank Tran isn't here?
Did he pay his fine or do we?
I paid his fine. I paid his fine the same day, and he got a license the same day, he said.
Okay.
So,
Who is this
That's the owner of the establishment.
No, who's that woman?
Oh.
I'm Juliet Yang. I'm the the hairdresser, the other person.
And then
Wait. Do you have what you need?
I don't have a name.
Julia Yang.
I work with her.
And then, Ms. Bradley, is there any obligation of the owner to be here while we discuss the two people that were working in his unlicensed establishment?
No. I mean, if they wanted to ask him to come as a witness, they could have done that. They could have asked the board to subpoena him as a witness on their behalf, but the board has in custody the inspector and that's what they're using. It sounds like Mr. I guess it's Tran, Mr. Tran didn't contest the citation and paid it. And so, as far as he's concerned, the matter is resolved for him. And so now it's just a matter of the two individuals working there.
You gonna make a motion?
Well,
Or you have more discussion? Question?
just so we can have a discussion, there's a couple ways. You can go, remember the motion and the penalty phase is separate. So whether the facts are they were working unlicensed, but do we feel circumstances that don't require penalty? So we want to consider all these things in two completely different motions.
Thank you. So then I'll need a motion.
Make a motion to uphold the citation.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Austin and seconded by Ms. Booth to uphold the citation violation of NAC 644.380.1. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us into the penalty phase.
And I'd like to make a motion that we waive any fines due to the fact, we are supposed to know places, but I lived there a couple of days and it was, I feel
Can we
that
put
they're
on
not,
probation too?
I don't personally think it's necessary in this case. I think that it doesn't seem there's never been a history, it's first time.
No harm to the public.
No harm to the public. I think the license was there that day afterwards, after the fact, but however, that's my feeling.
So you're making a motion to waive the fine. Seconded by Ms. Booth. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to waive the fine. Ms. Nguyen, you've been found guilty of the citation, but we are waiving the fine. Okay?
So just be sure you always check when you go to work somewhere that they have an establishment license.
Posted.
And
Posted on the wall. You see it.
just so you're aware, you'll get a written order in the mail telling you what the board's done today. So you'll have that. And another thing to remember is because you were found guilty, it does count as your first offense. So your second offense is fine to be higher. So you just don't want to ever do it again.
Before, I would like to put on the record too that we did have one abstention.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is the other party, you speak English?
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the next item. Requesting appeal citation, let's see, Juliet Yangas, requesting appeal citation HC-59, alleged violation of NAC 644.380.1. Can you state your name? Okay, we'll have you stand and be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Basically the same thing, do we go through the whole process, or can we just?
Well, you need to receive the materials.
Okay.
And I think I should ask her some questions.
Okay.
So, do you recognize those documents?
I do.
And what are they?
They are the citation and establishment reports, citations.
And is there a response from Ms. Yanka in here as well?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recognize these?
Yeah.
You had a chance to look at them before today?
Yeah.
Have any objections to them being admitted into evidence? And ask that these documents be admitted as State's Exhibit 1. Ms. Costanza, in the previous meeting, I choose to
Licensed establishment? That is
in this case.
yes, it is.
And what did you see Ms. Yanka doing in the salon on that day?
Ms. Shangle was doing a bead on one of the clients. She was putting coils in her hair and putting color at one of the salon stations.
And did you have a chance to speak to Ms. Yanka that day when you came in?
I did not. I was speaking to the owner, Frank, at that point in time. And then that's
And I think you previously testified that then you left and wrote the citations?
Correct.
And what was the citation to Ms. Yenga for?
Working in an unlicensed establishment.
And that's NAC 644.380 sub 1?
Yes.
And this was her first offense?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Do you have any questions, Ms. Yenga? Okay. Does the board have any questions? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion.
Well, let's let Ms.
Oh.
Yenga testify.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I also wasn't aware of this, and I'm also living both, and I also have a state business license. I was actually looking for a job that day, and then he said, you know, audition for the job, and I'm renting a booth somewhere else. I don't know if you're familiar with the Images Salon. I was working there, and I was looking to move, and he said, you know, I'm looking for a hairstylist. I didn't know he was licensed, and I don't know, also doesn't know about, because I know when you're renting a booth, you can, you know, go anywhere and have your own business license, and I wasn't aware how that goes, the laws and rules, and moving around and stuff.
Did you have your license present on you that day?
Yeah, I always carry my business license with me and my hairdressing license and whatever.
Any questions? Okay, I have a motion.
I make a motion that we uphold citation number HC 59, alleged violation of NAC 644.30.1.
I have
Second that.
a motion to uphold the alleged violation or the citation of violation of NEC 644.30.1 by Mr. Austin, seconded by Ms. Booth. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any abstentions? There being none. Okay, that takes us on to the penalty phase.
I'd like to make a motion that we waive any fines in this case.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Austin to waive the fines on violation 644.380.1, seconded by Ms. Issacher. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay.
Just as a final note too, you know, your safety and the safety of our inspectors is just of utmost concern and important to me personally, and I'm sure it is to the rest of our staff, including Mr. Jim Nolan. I really commend both you and Ms. Marsh for your actions when you are receiving some feedback that is obviously quite negative to secure and protect yourselves. I do have just a slight concern, Ms. Constanza, that your report said that Frank was not being very nice, but then your supplemental report said that he was being abusive. And so I do want to be sure that there's a consistency there and that, again, your safety is a real priority for me. And so please be careful out in the field. And perhaps there's a method to help our licensees understand that you're entitled to be there and that you are to be treated respectfully. So hopefully we can get that word out. So thank you again, Ms. Costanza.
Thank you. Ms. Yenga, just to let you know again, you will get a written order in the mail letting you know what the board did today, and also for you to keep in mind that while there is no fine, you were found guilty, so it's considered a first offense, and if you were to get a second citation in the future, that would be a second offense with a higher fine. So just be careful, and I'm sure you won't do it again.
I make sure there is a license. Not just my license.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you very much.
Do we want to move on, or do we want to break?
one and 1.2. Irene Van Pelt.
Can we do this one first?
Um,
Is it possible to go to the next case so that Charlene can come over?
Okay.
HC 73. Charlene is the next inspector that's testifying in the case that you just called.
Is Ms. Van Pelt here?
Ms. Van Pelt's not here.
Okay, good. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I would like to make a motion, based on the fact that Ms. Van Pelt's here, or not make a motion, request that the board, request that the board uphold the citation, given the fact that Ms. Van Pelt requested the citation appeal. She's not here, and that the citation should be upheld, and the $200 fine upheld as well.
We do it all in one motion.
Yeah, we should do that.
So I'd like to make a motion to the absence of the defendant that we uphold the citation.
Motion made by Mr. Austin, seconded by Ms. Murphy, to uphold the citation of NRS 644.2, 90.1 and .2, and the $200 fine. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I heard aye.
Motion carries. Okay, agenda item number 7.
I would ask maybe if we could do sheer excellence first, because I think that's Ms. Costanza's case, and the next one, Paradigm Salon and Spa, I think is Ms. Marsh's case. I was thinking while we have Ms. Costanza here, maybe we could finish her cases. Would that work for the board?
Okay, that would be item number 8, sheer excellence, Rita Phillips, owner. Request appeal of citation on alleged violation of NRS 644.320.1. Ms. Phillips, could you please stand?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before the court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Ms. Costanza and Ms. Phillips, I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 1. Ms. Costanza, do you recognize those documents?
Yes, I do.
What are they?
They, again, are my citation and establishment reports for sheer excellence that I wrote.
I have another document here, I believe, stating that you prepared.
Correct.
Would you attach that to those documents? And here's a statement that Ms. Costanza prepared. Ms. Phillips, do you have any objection to these documents being admitted into evidence? Okay. I'd ask that these be admitted as State's Exhibit 1. And go ahead and let me pass out a statement from Ms. Costanza. Are those documents submitted, Ms. Whitmer?
Oh, so admitted, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Costanza, as part of your duties as inspector for the State Board of Cosmetology, did you become aware of the respondent in this case?
I did.
How did that happen?
I was doing a routine inspection of the sheer excellent establishment. And when I walked in, Rita, Lucretia, I'm sorry, was in the process of getting a perm on a client. She had her 0709 license posted. I went back to the salon, called the office, and told that her license pin number 6158 had not been renewed. I went and finished my inspection and went in the corner of the salon to write my citations, which was NRS 644.0.1, practicing with an expired license. And one for the salon also allowing the licensee to work with an expired license, NRS 644.320.1. I finished, I asked
Six.
6 and 7.
Ms. Magar to come to the, back so she could sign the citation. And she stated at that time she had renewed her license. I told her that the office did not have any record of it, and gave her the citation. She signed it. Then I found out afterwards that when she came in to get her new license, that she had stated that she had the paperwork and never sent it in. So that was it.
So the citation that we're talking about today was issued to sheer excellence, correct?
There was, let's see. Correct.
Okay. And then the citation was because they allowed a person to work that had an expired license in the
Correct.
salon.
Correct.
And is this a first offense for sheer excellence?
I believe it is, yes.
And did you speak to the owner when you issued the citation or when you were there that day?
I did.
And what did she say?
She said she had renewed the license and it was my mistake, and, kept insisting that she had done it.
I have no further questions for Ms. Costanza at this time. If you have questions for Ms. Costanza, we can ask them.
I just want to say, when you said that you talked to Chris and not me, because I'm the salon owner. Chris was the one that you talked about her license. But when you talked to me, I told you I had no idea that she did not renew her license and that I would talk to her. And then I asked you how long I had to appeal this because I had no idea that she didn't have a license.
And does the board have any questions for Ms. Costanza?
Are you agree that that conversation took place? You're saying okay to...
No, I remember sitting up front because I was up by the door where the plant was.
Yeah.
behind the plant, yeah. So, yeah.
What I wanted to say is she had talked to Chris in front of her client, then told her that she didn't have a license. I was doing a client, and she came up to me and she said, Chris can no longer work today because she doesn't have the license. And I go, I did not realize that. I will handle it as soon as possible. But she told Chris to leave at that time, and I told Chris, you've got to go. She left the salon and went right to the place to State Board and paid her license. I know it is my job to check on these people. I've worked with Chris for many years. She's been a hairdresser for 35 years. I didn't know she did not renew her license. And that's my ignorance. I should have checked everybody's, but I just didn't do it. I thought she had renewed. She lost her husband recently, and she forgot. That's all I can say.
Ms. Costanza, did the licensee pay a fine? You know?
I am not sure. I don't know that.
Ms. Alexander? You don't know?
I don't know because that paperwork Debbie has.
So she stated to me that she did pay the fine, and that's why I came here to appeal it, because I just thought, I didn't really know about it.
Well, it looks like on your report that you issued 2 citations, but maybe...
I think she did pay it then because she's not contesting it now.
Kimmy got her license, renewed her license, and paid the fine.
Correct.
If she hadn't ever gotten her license, if she hadn't paid the fine, right?
Right.
So this is different.
This is the report of establishment.
No.
She had
Said a hairdresser had not renewed her license.
Yeah, so Ms. Costanza, I was kind of wondering, on your report of establishment, who is it? Which one is it? Which one of the licensees are we referring to?
This is... Okay, this isn't Chris, this is...
I'm the owner of
Right,
Sure
she's
Excellence.
the owner.
Oh, it's Lucretia, maybe?
Correct.
So 6158, the fifth one down. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So Chris, but Lucretia.
Correct. I was getting confused.
myself.
May I ask a question?
Sure. How long have you been in business?
I have owned a shop now, it'll be 5 years July.
How long have you been a hairdresser?
37 years.
Have you ever been cited for,
No.
as a hairdresser?
No.
I think we kind of got ahead of ourselves, as we were asking Costanza's questions.
You were, and then I think it's, if you have additional questions for Ms. Costanza, and then we let, I believe that Ms. Phillips had some things that she testified a bit, but that's okay.
Did you want to, you're fine. Did you want to say anything else on your behalf?
No, like I said, I know it was my ignorance. I did not check on her license, but I just figured she was in the business for so long, I didn't, that she should have known better. That's about it.
How many people do you have in your salon?
There's 11.
Anybody else have any questions? I guess I need a motion.
I make a motion that we uphold case number CO9124, violation of NRS 644.320.
No.
Right here, large violation of NRS. Registered license.
Okay. I'm here.
I'm looking at the PIC.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion to uphold violation of NRS 644.320.1, sheer excellence, Rita Phillips owner, seconded by Ms. Booth. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, penalty phase.
I'd like to make a motion that in this case, we waive the penalty, $20. And that would be open for discussion after.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. Austin to waive the fine, and seconded by Ms. Booth.
Somebody wants to read them.
I think that
You have that many people in salon, and it's not a habitual thing, but, watch every day. You're letting people make sure every cent.
Put it on the calendar. Yes, I will. And we're all booth rental. And I did not realize, I realize now I have to check.
You are responsible.
Yes.
You are responsible.
Yes.
So
Now
obviously if this happened again, then.
Right, then it's my
That's
fault.
well,
Yes.
yeah.
I would also like to make a point.
Yes.
They change colors. So if you see blue, 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 pink,
Yes.
or pink, 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 blue, something's wrong.
But also, remember somebody said I sent it in, and she thought she sent it in, and
Well,
Hope
that
calls
was
over to the office.
July versus December.
Everybody's birthday.
It's everybody's birthday, yes.
Public press has changed the birthday.
Yes, we all
Could we talk one at a time?
In answer,
Eric, I'm sorry. Ms. Alexander?
in answer to the question, if Ms. Lucretia had paid her citation, she renewed her license but did not pay the citation.
She did not pay the second.
But that has no bearing on
It is this case.
This case,
Lucretia is the...
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Alex Leader. But in addition to checking for their expiration status, if any of your licensees or independent contractors are working from more than one location,
Right.
it's also going to be your responsibility to check that they have their license on the day that they're working in your shop.
Okay.
So it is kind of a daily assessment of which licenses are there, which employees, or which independent contractors are there. So this type of thing doesn't happen again. Licenses do need to be posted and current.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Alexander, a quick question on, since the fine was not paid, does that, usually they can't get their license renewed?
Yes, she should not have been able to. She has 30 days.
They have 30 days.
Let me answer that. The answer is they can, but they cannot renew it again until the fine is paid. Because at the time she's not been convicted, nor has she pled guilty at that time. So it's a non-entity at that moment when she renewed. The issue now is if she hasn't pled guilty automatically and paid the fine, then she should be coming before the board in the near future.
Okay, I'll tell her that.
So when her license comes up on her birthday, if she hasn't paid her fine, she won't be renewed.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Do you understand?
Yes, I
Did you vote on the
No,
whole
we are not
fine?
voting on
Oh, I didn't think so.
Tim, they got to talking all at once.
And we've under discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to waive the fine.
Madam Chair, I have a change to make in your case. The board just handled item number 6, Irene Van Pelt. Was not aware of it. Ms. Blasco, as some of you are aware, her son was in a significantly serious accident in Florida, and in having Jill Hutchinson and Ms. Alexander check to be sure what status those cases were. Item 6, which you've already handled, I would recommend you withdraw that decision based on that she had called Ms. Blasco and asked for an extension, and it was granted. And so she did not show up to the meeting today, because that's going to be handled in the next meeting. As well as item number 7, Paradigm Salon and Spa, with Kimberly Gray also. I was not aware of that this morning because Ms. Blasco left on red eye out of Las Vegas towards Florida last night. So I apologize for the inconvenience. And Ms. Nelson, have you got that change?
Mr. General, were these postponements from December?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you do that?
You have the right to either postpone them or to try them. You've already tried it. You can retain that they did call in. I do not have any of the details as to why they called for the extension.
Well, what I was getting at is, and one extension I can understand.
Well, that was.
Well, the December was
Well, no, I know, but this is
We-
the first extension.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if this was a carryover.
Yeah,
from
it's a
that.
carryover from the snow, the snowstorm that didn't allow a lot of people to get the plan.
I'm not counting that as an extension. I'm
And we
counting this
automatically
time
rolled
being-
that to this meeting in the interest of justice. So this is really the first extension she's asked for.
And which one are we talking about again?
Both 6 and 7.
I-
6 you already done.
Do we need to
As
come
your
back?
counsel, I would ask that you make a motion to withdraw the judgment you made in number 6 and go ahead and allow the continuance in both. I don't have any objection to the continuance since I would view it as the first. I couldn't even make the December meeting, so.
Okay, and that was made by,
So I make a motion to withdraw the board's action for item number 6. Item number 6, Irene Van Pelt, NRS 644.290.
Second.
motion made to withdraw the board's activity, action, by Mr. Austin, seconded by Ms. Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carries it now. Do we have to do number 7 too? Or are we just automatically going to extend that?
Yeah, you should vote on it.
Because we'll send out an order from the board essentially saying that it's going to continue. That way they get notification.
I'll make a motion then to extend the appeal of the citation for the respondent Kimberly Gray and Paradigm Salon and Spa, case number CM 94, until our August meeting, based on her request for an extension.
Second.
Motion made to extend the appeal of the alleged violation in NRS 644.320.1, Paradigm Salon and Spa Kimberly Gray owner, until our August meeting, seconded by Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 9, appeal of citation. John R. Bennett, request appeal of citation, alleged violation of NRS 644.320.1. Mr. Bennett, I'm going to stand and be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do.
Mr. Bennett and Ms. Costanza, I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 1. Ms. Costanza, do you recognize these documents?
Yes, I do.
And what are they?
They are my citation and inspection report from Foundation Medical Spa.
Did you prepare a report? Is this report prepared in the ordinary course of business, this testimony, as part of your duties?
Correct.
Do you have a copy of that for Mr. Bennett? And have you seen these documents before, Mr. Bennett?
Yes, I have.
And any of this statements new to you? Do you have any objections to those being admitted into evidence?
No.
Ms. Costanza, go ahead and pass them back to the board. That would be wonderful. Ms. Costanza, as a part of your duties as inspector for the State Board of Cosmetology, did you become aware of an establishment called Renovation A Medical Spa?
Yes, I did.
And how did that happen?
Okay, it was on my routine inspection, okay, and I went into the medical spa and went up to the stations to check and see if their licenses posted. And Mr. Bennett handed me his license, and I saw it was the 0709 license. I went up to the front and spoke to the office manager, Tamara Evans. She came up and asked her if there's a place she could call. And then I could call the office. And when I called the office to find out if Mr. Bennett had renewed his license, they had told me that he had not.
And did you speak to Mr. Bennett at that time?
Yes.
And what did Mr. Bennett say to you?
I believe he had stated that he had forgot to do it.
Okay. And he was working on a female client, you said?
That is correct.
You wrote a citation in this case?
That is correct.
And what was the citation for?
Working with an expired license.
NRS 644.320 sub 1?
That is correct.
And this is a first citation for
Yes,
Mr.
it
Bennett?
is.
I have no further questions for Ms. Costanza. If you have questions for her, you can ask her. Okay, does the board have questions for Ms. Costanza?
How long have you been a hairdresser?
Oh, not for him yet, just Ms. Costanza.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He'll go ahead and get a chance to testify.
I'm sorry. None.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, now it's your turn to go ahead and testify, and then when you're finished, I might ask you a couple questions, and the board might ask you some questions.
I've been doing hair for 27 years, and I've been with Dr. Burden for 6 years. I was trying to integrate high-end hair with plastic surgery, and I have 27 years, I've never done this before. It's not that I completely forgot, I thought I'd send it in, and I hadn't. And I got a daughter in Cornell, and another one at the university, and I got another one up here, so I was just like, money was tight, so I thought I'd come and plead to you guys. but out there completely in the wrong, and it was the first event, so. And she was wonderful, she's nuts. Yeah.
I don't have any questions for Mr. Bennett. Does the board have questions?
No questions?
Motion.
You're so good at it.
Well,
So good at it.
due to the omission of the citation being done.
Second.
One motion made by Mr. Austin, seconded by Ms. Booth, to uphold the citation for violation of NRS 644.320.1. John Bennett. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Sarah, can I ask a question? Was the salon, was the Medi Spa fined? Was the Medi Spa fined?
Yes.
For-
Yes.
Number 3.
It's on that last report of establishment, very last page, third line up.
By the motion carries. That takes us into executive phase.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Thank you.
Did we get, I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that Mr. Bennett fine
I'll second
for
that.
644.20.1.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Motion made by Ms. Jones, seconded by Ms. Booth, to waive the fine for Mr. Bennett on NRS 644.320.1. Any discussion?
Yes. Did you guys see the difference in the case that we have the fines on? I'm sorry. This was his complete culpability. He admitted it. He didn't do his. The other cases, it was the hairdresser who was working in a licensed establishment. They believe it's licensed. They're apples and oranges. I can't see waiving the fine in this case because he actually created problems for the salon. I'd be more prone to waive the salon's penalty portion. You know,
The salon.
and I feel for you, Cornell, and all that. However, just I don't want to set a precedent because they're two different situations.
But like the other salon, the spa itself has that obligation to make sure that
Right.
he is licensed, not only through the cosmetology board, but through the.
But he has the license expired. He had to renew it. The lady who was in before was under the impression they renewed it, that it was renewed.
I just don't see we're causing harm to the public, but that's my opinion.
Well, he's operating without a legal license.
It's not expired.
That's the first time I do it, maybe. But I thought I had sent it in.
Mr. Leader?
Mr. Austin, with due respect to your opinion, it is of my opinion that the establishment owes the fiduciary responsibility to the licensee. He's entrusting the establishment to maintain a current license, and the establishment, to me, has the oversight over the licensee. And so for me, it would just seem like if it hadn't been done, the cosmetologist in charge would have actually caught it and pointed it out to him.
So what are you saying?
He is the cosmo in charge.
Oh, I am the one.
Yes, that's part of my.
Right.
That's why I think I feel you have more culpability. That's because of that.
Yeah.
Because I'm the cosmo in charge of my location. So.
Need a vote? All those in favor?
I'm sorry, what are we voting on again?
Waiving the fine.
To waive the fine.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, so we need to have a new motion.
Well, I don't think you need a new motion. You denied the waiving, which means that the fine still is upheld.
No. Motion for penalty?
Well, because you could make the fine be less than what it was, you could make it be the same. I mean, I think just because a motion to waive the fine dies doesn't mean automatically that the full fine is stated. I think it'd be better to determine what you want the fine to be, whether you want it to be the full amount or however you want to handle that, but it's clearer that way.
I'd like to make a motion then to suspend the fine on citation HC 75 KC 1095. And if Mr. Bennett just does not get into any trouble over the next year, then the fine would then be waived. So it's a suspended fine. If there's no more trouble, we won't see a payment.
And I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Leader and seconded by Ms. Booth to waive the fine unless...
Assess the fine and then have it be held suspended for 1 year, and if there's no further violations of NRS 644, the fine would go away and not be paid. If there was a violation within the year, then he would have to pay the $200 fine, in addition to potentially the other disciplinary assessments.
Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Bradley.
Discussion?
No. That's the same thing as pretty much waiving it. I'm not trying to
No,
be-
I don't think it should be waived or suspended. Because he is responsible. He's the cosmetologist responsible for everyone. He admitted he was wrong, so he's ready to accept his punishment.
How about $1 a week? Is that okay?
However you would word it.
Yeah, let's take it to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Raise your hand. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those that opposed? Motion died.
Motion that the fine of $200 be upheld. It's a fine of hardship, but will it be okay to extend over a year?
6 months.
6 months?
6 months. That's what we've done on the other one.
6 months to make $200.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Austin, seconded by Ms. Zeziger, to uphold the fine of $200 for Mr. Bennett on violation NRS 644.320.1. Any discussion? Take it to vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay. Just one nay.
Motion carries.
So you have 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
6 months.
Item number 10, Bertha Barbos. Request appeal of citation alleged violation of NRS 644.290.1. Would you state your name, please?
Bertha
Barbosa? Would you stand and be sworn in?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I'm showing you what's pre-marked as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize those documents?
Yes, I do.
And what are those?
They are the citation that I wrote and the establishment.
Did you prepare a statement for the board regarding this citation?
Yes, I did.
And was that prepared in the ordinary course of business as part of your duties as inspector?
Yes, it was.
Mr. Rose, I'm showing you the statement that Ms. Costanza has prepared. Ms. Costanza, would you attach that to State's Exhibit 1? Do you have any objection to these being admitted into evidence, these documents? Okay, and you had these documents ahead of time to review, didn't you? Okay, good. So noted. Thank you. Ms. Costanza, as part of your duties as inspector for the board, did you become aware of Ms. Bertha Barbosa?
Yes, I did.
And how did that happen?
On routine inspection of the establishment, I was going around checking all the licensees. Bertha Barbosa was doing a leave on a female client, and she stated to me that she had left her license at home. I then finished the inspection and wrote a citation NRS 644-290.1, failure to display license at place of position of work.
Did Ms. Barbosa say anything else to you about this citation?
She did not.
And you issued a citation to her?
That is correct.
And that was for NRS 644.290/1, failure to display a license at position of work?
That is correct.
Was this the first offense for Ms. Barbosa?
I believe it was.
I have no further questions for Mrs. Stanza. That's fine. If you have questions for her, you can ask her questions about what she just said.
No, I don't have questions.
Okay, and now it's time for the board if they have questions for Mrs. Stanza.
Ms. Costanza, did you, in going to this salon in the past, did you ever have any other challenges with Ms. Barbosa as far as?
I have not.
Okay.
Do you have a statement or something you'd like to say?
I have my license in my home because I sell my house and the lender, they need a copy for my cosmetology license and some more investigation. And I forgot in that time. And usually I don't work on Mondays, but my cousin come to Sacramento and I went to the salon just for her and another friend. But all the time I have my license with me. Just, I forgot. I have 10 years doing this and I never forgot my first time. I know it's no excuse, but I'm sorry.
I have no questions for Ms. Barbosa. Anybody
have any questions? Okay. I need a motion.
I make a motion to find Bertha Barbosa guilty of violating the NRS 644.290.1 based on her own admission.
I'll second.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Ms. Bonaldi and seconded by Ms. Booth to find Bertha Barbosa guilty of violation of NRS 644.290.1. Any discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the penalty phase. Love to have a motion.
I make a motion to find Bertha Barbosa, is it? Guilty of, I'm sorry, what? Oh, I'm the fine, I'm sorry. Fine of? I've forgotten how I did it. Go ahead, Stuart, you do it. I'm confused. I messed myself up.
But because Ms. Barbosa was forthright and circumstances show that it's not a circumstance that she would never have a license with her. She has a reasonable explanation why she is out of the salon, but was supposed to have returned it. I'd like to make her fine. This is her first offense.
Motion made by Ms. Jones, seconded by Ms. Booth to waive the fine on Bertha Barbosa violation of NRS 644.290.1. Do I have discussion? I'll take that vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Four
I work at 2 locations. I go back and forth. I am so nuts when people don't have license. In fact, one of the locations, I made this girl drive for 20 miles, shut in the morning, go get your license, we don't work today. You just don't. You get in the car, without your driver's license behind the wheel, you're gonna get a ticket. Sorry.
But I don't think she's working in the police launch. She had an unusual circumstance where she had to provide her documentation.
I've never had anybody ask me to have my license for a mortgage thing.
Well, it was a copy. It was a copy that was needed.
Right.
That's okay.
Regardless, the obligation is to have it when you're working.
Okay, I have a motion made by Member Austin to uphold the $200 fine. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Sixinger. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Sorry. Motion carries to uphold the fine of $200. Ms. Barbosa, we will give you some time to pay for that. Okay? You can make arrangements under the new office. And, thank you. Okay.
You'll get an order in the mail letting you know what's happened today and telling you about the fine. And like she said, you can ask for payments if you need
Can
them.
I make payments from which office?
The Reno office, yes. You can contact Jill right there and she'll help you with that.
Okay, that brings us to item number 11. Appeal of citation, Drago Salon, Drago Dimitri owner, requesting appeal of citation HC-83, alleged violation of NRS 644.360.1.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before the board to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Ms. Costanza, I'm showing you what's been pre-marked as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize those documents? Okay, and what are those documents that you recognize?
Citation and report of establishment from February 9th, 2010.
And what was the other letter that you didn't recognize?
Just a request for a hearing about displaying his license from Drago Dimitri.
And Mr. Dimitri, do you recognize these documents?
Yeah.
Have you seen them before? And do you have any objection to them being admitted as State's Exhibit 1?
No.
And Ms. Costanza, you have a document you prepared as a statement for the board?
I do.
And was that prepared in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, it was.
And do you have a copy for Mr. Dimitri? Do you have any objection to that being admitted in the home?
No.
Okay, I'll let the record reflect I'm attaching a copy of Ms. Costanza's statement to the exhibit. And are these documents also admitted? Thank you. Yes. Ms. Costanza, as a part of your duties as inspector for the State Board of Cosmetology, did you become aware of the licensed salon, Drago Salon in Daysball?
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Well, it was on my routine inspection list, and I have, like I said, inspected their salon before. On going into the salon, the license usually is posted in the front on the wall because it has to be in public view, and the license wasn't there. I went to the back of the salon, looked at the old establishment report, and there was the inspection in the back. I also asked her if she knew where the license was, and she went to the front and said, I thought it was in the front. So we kind of started looking around, and she was looking around, and there was another hairstylist back there, and nobody could find the license.
And what day was this for the record?
February 9th, 2010.
Okay, so you and the receptionist looked for the license and couldn't find
Well,
it?
I went, we couldn't find it on the wall where it originally was. And I, like I said, talked to them. They started looking for it, and I went through and started finishing my inspection on the other salon, on the other licensees in the salon to see if, finish that while they looked for it.
And did you call the office?
We did. I called the office. They said that the license had been renewed, and it had. They just did not have it posted.
Okay. And did you issue a citation?
I did at that time, yes.
And that was for NRS 644.36071, failure to state license?
That is correct.
And is this the first offense for Drago Salon?
Yes, it is.
And did you talk to anybody else that day? Did you talk to the cosmetologist in charge or anyone else at the establishment?
I talked to another gal that was also working with the receptionist for the license, and I wanted to speak to the owner himself, and she said she would take care of it because she didn't want him getting involved because she said he would get really upset. So,
I have no further questions for Ms. Costanza. Do you have questions for Ms. Costanza, Mr. Dimitri?
No, except to apologize, that this type of circumstance actually happened, and I'm here. Being here all day, really, it's nothing she did. I just had experienced a very rough patch with my staff that I rely on a lot, which is my front desk, who was going through a very hard divorce. And when she went through a divorce, I felt like I did, and I'm not making excuses. It happens in our family with the salon, and I take a lot of pride of not doing anything, that's not above board, and be the best that I can set an example for, which I think I try to do for 25 years in this North Nevada community. Keep a good name and a great place. So nothing she did. It was simply me being overwhelmed with certain circumstances. The license falls, it's put here, somebody's going to take care of it, put a new frame. Yes, I didn't get involved. I allowed other people to do these things. And like she said, there was front desk here, a girl there, she's talking to 10 different people. I'm not fully aware. I didn't dismiss it. There was no way I would disrespect and say, hey, this is baloney, I'm not putting no license up there. I pay for it. Why wouldn't I put it up there? I'm telling you, for me, it's being competitive, and I'm here to apologize to you guys because I pride myself about our cosmetology, profession, setting an example. And for me to not display a license, it's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. And that's why I'm spending a day here sitting in this chair. I could easily pay the fine. I work Mondays. I've canceled most of my day to be here. So it's not the money factor. It's a pride thing. And it shouldn't have happened. And I just somehow, like I said, no excuses, got a little sidetracked, an oversight. Really, it's simply that. Nothing disrespectful, nothing other than that. And just strictly oversight where things got caught up, got placed, didn't get seen, one thing led to another, and wasn't taken care of like I should have taken care of it. So, my apology, really.
Does the board have any questions for Ms. Costanza? Do you have any questions for her?
I don't have Mr. Costanza, questions for Ms. Costanza. Do you have any other statement you'd like to make to Mr. Dimitri, or is that everything?
No, that's it, really. I'd never, if I knew that my license was not posted, it's usually supposed to be in that one spot where I have it for 25 years, it wasn't, and I didn't check into it. It wasn't that anybody, I almost needed to be hit over the head with something to say, hey, Drago, the license is done. I wasn't aware. I really just either forgot or missed it. The communication wasn't there from the people I count on. My business was not functioning at 100% at that point. So, with all due respect, it was nothing more than just one of those things, just oversight.
The only thing that I can see that I'm looking here is that the frame did break back in November. So you were looking at 3 months
Exactly, ma'am.
not being posted.
And that's exactly the point. When it broke, that fall from September all the way through March, my life was really overwhelming. Especially, I have a great front desk, as all of you guys, if you know, running a business, and I tend to rely a lot on her. And at that moment, for a 4 or 5 month period there, I was just lost. I know exactly it was posted then, and what happened is it was placed. We were going to replace the frame, had taken care of it, and you know what? It was forgotten. It was just forgotten, not on purpose, but that's exactly what it was. It was just forgotten. We had a bunch of paper sitting on top where she couldn't find the frame, but we found it. It was under some file of papers that somebody had placed on top, and it was just a
Does anybody else have a
stupid
question?
thing.
For the record, I have to excuse myself because I'm a peer and an acquaintance of Drago, so I have to excuse myself.
I have no questions for Mr. Dimitri.
Motion?
I make a motion to find Mr. Drago guilty of violation HC, H3, and NRS 644.360-1.
Motion made to find Drago Salon, Drago Dimitri guilty of alleged violation, or of violation, excuse me, of NRS 644.360.1. Motion made by Ms. Booth, seconded by Ms. Jones. Any discussion? I'll need to vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Penalty.
I make a motion to set the fine of $200 for the violation.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Booth, seconded by Ms. Zazinger to uphold the $200 fine for violation NRS 644.360.1 to Drago Salon, Drago Dimitri owner. Any discussion?
I have a little bit of a discussion, if that's okay. I noticed that the license was purchased timely. You had the
Yes,
11
always.
license. And I just was looking up on the duplicate license, the fee for the duplicate license, that any person licensed can request a duplicate license, and that fee is only $25. So, I mean, for somebody who went through good faith to keep their license active, I mean, I recognize it's not posted, but the individual license, which has relatively the same name, the owner is Drago and the individual license is under Drago. I mean, there's no violation of customer safety taking place, and I think the common sense of the individual can see that the individual license is current. The name of the salon is named after that individual licensee. It's hard for me to assess a $200 penalty when we just haven't had that. We haven't had a violation of customer safety or consumer safety.
This is my thinking on, if I may. I really appreciate you coming in and being so honest and so forthright. I'm a business owner too. I think we have the highest standard. If it would have been 1 or 2 days or a week this had happened, but this was a period over 7 months since the frame broke. So that's where I think I have the biggest problem just saying of waiving a fine or not going forward, because you do set that high standard. And I truly appreciate you coming in here and taking responsibility for that standard. So that's
Exactly, I do, but if I may also, it's kind of a contradiction. You're saying, yes, I'm setting a high standard. In 30 years being in Nevada, I've never had one fine or done anything. So in lieu of being 30 years the highest professional in our industry, where I'm setting a standard, you can't seem fit to say that if it's a one-time deal, and as far as if it happened a few days, what's the difference? Out of sight, out of mind. I told you it wasn't on purpose.
But
It was out of sight, out of mind.
It was your
It was a
license that
reasonable-
you walk past every single day.
I don't walk by the license every day, ma'am.
Okay, that's just my impression.
Yes. You know, I can understand people who are constantly breaking the rules.
Actually, not really your time to speak right now. The board is actually considering the case. If they have a question for you, they'll ask you.
sorry.
But they've heard your testimony, and so now they're proceeding.
I'm just asking in comparison to the last case where she has forgotten her license. She's scored a full penalty on it.
I think
And
there's
she's left at home that day.
I think there's a huge difference with somebody not bringing their license to multiple locations, and there's a huge difference when somebody is named after their salon. They've made the purchase of the license. I feel like even the uneducated consumer can put two and two together and realize that that individual license probably reflects the establishment license. I'm not necessarily advocating for a waiving of the fee. I'm just saying that dollar per dollar, the requesting the duplicate license was $25, and I trust that you've paid that.
I have the license. It was never an issue. The license is there. It just happened to fall and break a frame, and it was one of those situations where I'm trying to replace the frame, and I put it aside and just forgot due to some circumstances where I've had, help that I'm counting is not being there. It's a logical thing.
Did you find it that day when you were there?
I think they found the broken frame.
But they didn't find the actual license.
We did find the license. Remember, we found the license after I came and looked for it. It was on the desk with a pile of.
No, I don't know, it wasn't, I don't think it was on the desk.
Maybe after you left, but we did find the license.
Okay, I guess, any more discussion? Take this to vote. For all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what we switched side. That made a difference to me, so.
Okay.
Nays, or I think you both voted yea.
Okay, ayes, raise your hand. Oh, 2 nays, and we have 1 abstention. Okay. I have not.
Fine, $200.
Okay, so,
I'll make a new motion that the fine be upheld for citation HC83 C10-120 for Drago Salon for not having the license displayed according to NRS 644-360.1, but that fine be suspended for 1 year. If Drago Salon does not come before the board, then that fine would go away.
I'll second that.
Eric, do I need to repeat that?
No, I haven't.
Motion made by Mr. Leader, seconded by Mr. Austin. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Well, then
1
that was
abstention.
convincing.
It wasn't, but I just agreed.
She's going smack down at the parking lot. With you.
Okay, do you understand, Mr. Dimitri, what the...
Yes.
Okay, we found you guilty of the violation, and you're
A year.
Very, very good.
I've been good for 30 years.
Watching other people in your salon. Remember, if they get in trouble, then you get in trouble too.
I will. No, you were. You were exactly right.
Mr. Dimitri, just so you're aware, like I told the other people, you'll be getting a written order in the mail that will tell you what the board has decided. And so they have assessed the fine but held it suspended for 1 year. I keep pending no further violations. So you want to be careful that the salon isn't cited for anything, because you could be cited for something else and still have to pay that fine.
All right. That's clear. Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I guess we need to take a break. Discussion regarding priorities for the 2010-2011 budget. Mr. Jimmo.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. I say that with affection.
Yeah, enthusiasm, I heard that.
The report I put together is hopefully self-explanatory, because what I did is lay out the route we've taken to where we are at the moment. So all the projects that were originally listed in 2008, 2009, what the status is, almost everything is completely completed. And I went to 2009, 2010 fiscal year, which is the current one we're in. And then I proposed the 2010-11 new upcoming budget. And the idea is that anything that wasn't finished in the first two automatically rolls into the third. This is the best I could come up with. Is there's 8 priorities that I see. Number 8 is one that really is an early start on the NRS review, if there's anything there. But the first 7 are really what we're looking at this point until the board says, is there anything else they want? So hopefully you got a chance to read it. We've had a really ambitious series of projects over the years. And my sense is that we're coming to the end of most of the major stuff that's in the final stages. All we have left in the office is literally, I've got on the computer now waiting for my review is the computer for the testing, the computer-based testing office, and the server that goes in there, and 3 computers for the office desks. That's about it. So I'm just about done. So what is the board's vision of the future to be other than what's listed there? Because those are all the completion stuff, the 2010 one. Is there anything else the board has been, what's put on the wish list or we should consider in the budget? The one thing I did put in, and I know Alex and a couple of others have mentioned to me, is that we created funds for another retreat. Obviously, it sounded like you guys liked that first effort, so we're going to put in a chunk of money for that. There is some board training that is out of state that CLEAR puts together, CLEAR being the Council on Law Enforcement and Regulation. They do some pretty heavyweight training for boards in getting them to understand the type of training that's available for boards. And I think it's like a 3-day course, 2.5, 3-day course. I didn't know if any of you guys are interested in that sort of thing. I'm thinking about, one at a time, 2 at a time, sending people to understand their role better. I did a little of that in the retreat. This is a much heavier weight level of discussion of those issues. But the trouble with it is it's internationally oriented, so it's built for all boards and commissions. It's built for whether you're Canada, United States, or Australia, or some other country. These are generic kinds of approaches. But I don't know if the board was interested in that sort of thing. We could experiment with it if you want.
It's similar to what the Attorney General's office sounds like. It's more understandable.
It's a lot like the investigative training you go. There are classes with a lot of other folks from different places, and the instructors are dealing with what the roles of boards internationally are, rule-making systems. They don't tell you how to do it in Nevada, but you get the concept. But I think, Alex, the training you were about, yeah, those are just generic approaches to different ways to do business with the government and probably private sector.
What do you think, Alex?
I just think that particularly the board retreat, the content of the board retreat was just eye-opening. And the power workshop that I attended that was approved for all the board members, I thought that was just tremendously valuable. And I can't imagine Vince bringing something up that he doesn't think that we would benefit from.
Well, the reason I asked Alex, because I know that he's been going to these different things and getting his degree or wherever he graduated.
So stoked.
Well, there's two different areas of training. One is the original educational assistance program, or whatever you want to call it, is intended to design competent staff that will stay and do the job better and better as they mature. That's the original intent of those kind of programs. The one I'm talking about now is more of a look at how do you bring board members into a higher level of understanding of what their role and how they operate are, their skill patterns. So what it does, it takes the average everyday person, and you start to learn skills about how to be a leader. What's your real role? As some of you remember, I met with you when you first get appointed. We talked about your perception versus reality. My perception is different than yours, mainly because I've lived in it all the time. That's where I reside. And you guys come out from outside, and you have a limited information from this agency or that agency, and you apply whatever you've learned right here, which may fit well, may not fit well, but generally is okay. In this case, these are international regulators all over the world. So the training is designed for regulators, people who do this kind of work. So when they talk about training for the board members, they're talking about board member training. This is the role. And the idea is to give you more and more ammunition for how to do your job. It's expensive. We can't send everybody, but we can send, say we can send 2 a year for the next couple of years, or 3 a year, and we'll do it that way. The one that's gone clear through this year is in Toronto or Montreal, someplace like that.
I volunteer for this year.
Absolutely. But they move them around, whether in Dallas or. But anyway, I didn't know if you guys were interested in that sort of thing or not.
I am.
I think anything that anything that you can learn. I need a lot of help. Anything that helps.
One of the issues we have to be worried about is that anytime we do stuff like this, the rest of the state who can't afford it because they're not managing themselves really too well, they see it as, how come they get to do it and we don't? All that stuff. But if you want me to put some money in there, I could start at least padding the budget so we can do some of it if I spot something we really want to do.
Or maybe the person that goes to the class can come back and teach us what they've learned, what they can make copies of materials.
That usually, to be honest with you, doesn't work well. You're a teacher yourself, and you really understand what I'm talking about. Where the gain is you get a lot of people in your same boat who are now sharing experience, sharing knowledge. That's the real gain. So networking well. An example in NIC, Kathy's well aware of this. I find myself teaching when I'm not even teaching in the ranks because I've been there so many times. So the issue for them, the networking, is where the value is. I bring little tidbits to them. And the idea is that they get their appetite whet, and next thing you know, they want more. And we did a little of that in this regional meeting. So if you want, I'll throw some money in there, but no guarantee how much it'll be. But it'll be some to start that kind of thinking.
I think that's a good idea. At least start the process, and then maybe like.
Do you need us to have a vote or anything, or?
Well, what I do is, if you remember why I don't come back to you for a lot of the contract stuff, is I put everything in the budget. I tell you what we're spending the money on. You guys approve the budget, and you give me the authority to go ahead and execute.
Do you know how much it runs per person?
Oh, it could be probably $3,000 or $4,000
Per person?
because you pay $1,500 for the class, then you got expenses and flight. It's probably $3,000, $4,000 per person. So I might be able to do a couple a year kind of thing. And we're not paying for your passport. That's your problem.
I wanted to bring one up that I think would be great if maybe, just from reviewing some of the reports that I had to review this time, is maybe like what you did for us, do for the inspectors. Because I had a couple of concerns in there that camera wasn't taken with them and that they didn't have the police number dialed into their cell phone. And just go over some of those basic things where I got a lot out of that workshop. And I think maybe they could benefit by a workshop like
Well,
that.
I'm going to be doing the whole staff. The stuff you guys got at the retreat, that's going to be done for the entire staff. It'll be crafted slightly differently, but the idea is to familiarize them with what the roles are, what you guys do, what you're supposed to be doing, what they're supposed to be doing. The things you're talking about are really investigating.
Well, the health safety issues was a big one for me.
Well, I bought every one of them a camera, and they're supposed to be carrying them.
She may have just had it in the car. Maybe she didn't have it with her or something. It's just one more thing to carry.
Well, I think if you're going to do the job like a real estate agent, you don't go anywhere without your phone because you never know when you have to dial 911, which I would think these girls do.
Hey, that's the same theory I said about license.
Yeah. Because I think it's just for their own safety that when they walk into a place and you run into somebody that, we had 2 instances this time where the shop owners got very hostile. It just scares me that they're not got that in your cell phone to
Well,
be able to hit it.
You don't, here's something you need to know. Cell phones are automatically tied to 911. All you do is dial. It automatically goes to a call center, and a cell phone goes to the highway patrol call center in the region, who then transfer quickly to the local PD if there's a police call. Those are obviously, so you don't
I have
really
a number for the Boulder City Police Department.
Yeah, but
so.
see, in our case, you'd have to have a number for every one of them. So it becomes a...
You'd have to have it for Fallon, and you'd have to have it for
For
everyone in
Minden,
the outer.
Well, I may not know enough about this to
But the
say,
bottom line is they're
it
taught,
just concerns me.
they're taught, if they, an example, they mentioned it in their testimony, we're taught that if it becomes a dispute or a violence-oriented kind of tone, they're to back out. And that's what she did. She went to the office and wrote the citation.
I thought they did the right thing. I mean, they both left, you know.
One did, one didn't.
Yeah.
Well, she called the police, so.
Charlene was bigger than most of them, so she can handle it.
Yeah. Well, I can see where hope.
And the only thing she needed the police officer there is to try to calm the thing and deal with, be there to make sure things don't get out of hand. So she did the right thing.
And it's certainly not my intention to tear anybody down or point fingers at anybody. It just felt to me like we should have had a camera in there to have a picture of that station. And that it just concerned me for her own safety that they...
Those are good suggestions, and we've talked about that before, but what happens is in the day-to-day operation, sometimes they remember, sometimes they don't. Sometimes if they have the camera in their hand, they'll take a picture. If they don't, they didn't think about it when they got out of the car, they don't have it, and develop some stuff. But the bottom line, is there any other issues that we have besides the 8 that are on the table? I'll add a little money for education for board members. I think that's always about the thing. Anything else?
Well, this might be seemingly unrelated, but was there any feedback from the NIC conference? Okay, well, the only reason I bring it up in this context is because of, is there an opportunity to do that again for the NIC, or is that something that we want to consider, or do we want to consider just our region? Oh.
I'll let Madam President.
Oh, okay, so that was just a bridge, I guess. So.
I have a question about the budget. These books for our rules and regs come out every, how many years?
They're supposed to come out every other year when you finish the cycle, but they don't necessarily.
Okay, so when we do have changes to the law and they're not published in the book, do we at least send every establishment and school an update so that we know if there's any change?
If we mail to every single licensee, it costs us $10,000. Schools automatically get it. In fact, they had 3 notices.
Okay.
They had the original notice, they had a copy of everything that was changed, they had a private meeting with me, which I gave them all this stuff again, and then we sent it again we posted it on the internet where they could get to it again.
But also the salons.
Salons,
Right.
we delivered 2,000
Schools, they do get these updates.
notices. Yes.
So when people come in here and say, oh, you told me.
No, that's not
But at least we as a board know that it went to the schools, it went to establishments.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
and another thing too is the legislature is presumed to act in a public manner, and so
Right.
you know what they do is a lot of times reported in the paper and all of that. I mean, so not that maybe everything is front page news, but certainly it's presumed that the legislature doesn't act in the secret, and so the laws should be public knowledge from that perspective.
LCD tells me the same thing, that when they do the hearings in public, NRSs, you don't have to worry as much because they are publicly advertised. They handle all the meetings in front of the media. Big deal. The NRSs, the NACs are quite not the same. So we take a lot more effort. But legally, when LCD posts it, it becomes law and notice. It's automatic. But we do more than that. We built a system now with a new website. We now have the ability to post it on our own website where everybody can see it. We've also sent letters to each establishment saying, please look at the website. This is how you get to it. And by the way, these are the laws that have changed. The last thing we do is we're building an e-blast system. We're slowly taking email addresses, and so you can email out the notices to everybody that you've got an email address for. Eventually, and in the form, we change the form and put an email address on it. So as we collect them, then we'll be able to all 25,000 licenses plus or minus a few of those. But that's all in the long, slow development of all the systems. And we're just about done with most of those. Is there anything else that you want me to include? Any projects, efforts, better lunch?
No, I think we did.
I can see you guys are suffering.
Seems like you've covered everything.
Oh, so good. I had
I'm going to assume that this is okay for including in the budget, the stuff that I got.
I just have a question about the regulatory, changing the laws and all that, and how that's going to happen. Like, we're doing a subcommittee about aesthetics right now, but when did those actually go into action?
It will be when we start identifying sufficient number of regulations that need to be changed. We'll start holding. We'll bring to you guys. We'll start scheduling meetings for you guys, the board, to say these are the changes we think need to be done in suggestions. Then we will have public hearings throughout the state. And we did overkill last time around. We got praised by the legislature. We go through that public hearing. Everybody comes, all the board members come, and we go through all the comments of the citizens, the ones that the staff has picked up from the field, the ones that you guys have given to me in advance of those meetings. That we'll be starting that anytime we get our act together soon, very soon.
Well, if you're going to make regulation changes this year, you have to have the draft to the LCD by June 30th to get a number, and then you can proceed with the other things after.
I mean, that's not, you don't have to have the full dialogue. You got to have the majority of the stuff there, then you can modify it. But they assign you a number, and then you work with LCD attorneys to draft the changes that you're suggesting. The issue for us is there anything you guys have identified in the regulations you want to talk about?
Yes.
So I need to have that in writing. Send me an email or a memo indicating that the items that you wanted to add to the agenda of those meetings that will be starting shortly. And that's for regulation review. The NRS is the following year. We have to have everything ready to go for the legislature. They start forming them up in July, and between July and, I don't remember, January or something.
I don't know, because most agencies don't do that way. They do May 1st, and they submit it to the governor's office. So you guys, because you have a lobbyist, you have a little more time, I think, than the others do.
Well, no. There's three ways to get it in. The governor's office, one for most general fund accounts. The governor was not a favorable son for us last time. So we ended up having you can have a legislator, either a senator or a assembly person, sponsor the legislation.
I think July to November is the general time frame they start gearing up for the session, because it starts, next January. But I'm not as clear on that, because I know most people right now that I'm working with are getting ready for May 1. They have to have it submitted May 1 if they want to potentially have it go.
If you go through the governor's office.
Yeah. And so the other process, I think, obviously the deadline is really, kind of the legislature starts. But I think July to November is the normal time frame when they're really getting things done.
As you recall, the last time I went to the governor's office, they screwed up. We didn't get responded. We didn't get approved, and it was their fault. And then they didn't tell us until after the deadline. So we ended up going out to a legislator, and they carried it forward. I'm not really interested. I don't have anything that I'd like to push through this time for the 2011 session. I've got no major changes. The only one is most of the stuff I've got is regulation reviews. And we may go back on the threading, because we have a threading issue that we have to respond. But it's not legislation, it's a report back to the legislature. So anyway, is there anything you guys want in regulation to review and argue about and discuss? You need to get that to me. So and what your change is about In other words, I can't read your mind, so if you want to change, you say this regulation needs to be changed, and this is what I think it needs to address, then we can craft something for you. But until I get that stuff, I won't be able to know what to do. I don't see a lot of changes. We just did a 10-year review. So there's not, in my mind, there's not a lot to go back to. Bits and pieces here and there, and that's about it. All right, so if you got it, get it to me as soon as you can, because we need to get started on that.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 14, review of the treasurer's report.
Should be self-explanatory. Should be normally Debbie's here to answer the question. These are generally self-explanatory. I've reviewed them. We're pretty much on target with everything we've looked at. We've been planning and how the budget was developed. There's no anomalies that I can put on the recording. I did purchase all the furnishings for the new office, and we'll see that in the depreciation account next time around. I've got a little more expenditure in computers. That's all in the budget. We'll depreciate those, and that's stuff that is real cheap.
I have a question. And you probably answered it before, but I need to ask again. It says that management elected to omit substantially all disclosures and statements of cash flow required by accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, as they may influence user conclusions about the company's financial position.
That's for this company. That's what you call boilerplate. They don't do the deep analysis like the annual report does. This does a month to month. So they don't usually get themselves involved in the cash flow unless there's an anomaly. Now the deeper one, the bigger report one is that thick that you get. That one deals with everything.
Okay.
In fact, we're not even required to do the monthly. We do that as a safeguard.
Do we need a motion on this?
No, you just accept it.
Vince, I was just going to ask you, though, a quick question. Are you still out a person?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been, and I want to bring that up just as part of the immediate priority. We've had Susan Padilla's position empty. And what I've done with that, because it is far better served us, is we've run with 3 inspectors and that vacant, and I then have used that to pay for the temporary employees to clean up all the record systems that were pending. So we're almost done with all of that. I mean, we're getting down to the final archive boxes that we've been doing with. And we had 50 years of a collection of junk there, and we got it all modernized now. Gloria and her staff have done a marvelous job of pulling that together. Now, the new budget, what I'm looking at presenting to the board is an expansion of a position up here to better coordinate how this office functions, so when Jill has to come south or do meetings and stuff, the office doesn't have to be locked down, or even for lunch. We lock the office down for lunch because there's not enough staff to do it anymore. With the 4th person, we can then have the 2 inspectors out regularly, Jill and 1 other employee. We now have a service full-day job all the time. The customers never have to worry about what hours is closed.
When are you planning on doing that?
In the new budget.
Excuse me?
In the new budget. The second issue is taking the half-time position that we have as a part-time position. I think Geneva has served in that office for the last 3 years, and making that a full position. In a full position, what we then go will be prepared to do the full year-round licensing process. We'll be all scheduled for that. And that means that I would run the inspection staff with 1 less official employee. Then I'm thinking seriously about restructuring who does what and how. We do an inspection team there. And we have 2 major inspectors in the north, 2 major inspectors in the south, with the 3rd one as a support. So we will then strip out things like special investigations, complaint investigations, monitoring certain kinds of activities, working specifically with casinos and the big operations that you need a lot of expertise on and a lot of special attention, and generally helping supervise the whole unit. So I'm looking at restructuring that. That should put us in a pretty decent shape in the long haul, without little or very little increase in budget. Basically, I've made it, I've been able to manage what we had with very little increase. What I'm doing is, because we've got all the facilities now in place, the computer system's almost in place, we will have the last stage of the Versa system when we buy the mobile system. That'll be the last of that. There's no real major expenses coming out of that. The buildings have been set up for 10 years or more, and so the furnishings are all purchased already and paid for. So financially, we're going to be extremely sound and safe for a lot of reasons. But then our priority would be the polishing stuff, the things, how do we do business better, how do we make our investigations clear and more readable. We've been working on that, but that's been not as successful as I've had. In Southland, I've got them pretty much starting to be trained. Northland, I still got some work to do on that. But to answer your question, that's the only expansion of anything. But that's really a reconfiguration that really prepares us for the year-round licensing and not having to close this office. As you see, this office is fully capable of everything except board meetings. That's the only thing missing. It just wasn't worth spending, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 a year for 3 meetings, because that's what you guys do. So hopefully you'll accept the budgetary reports. The director's report is self-explanatory.
You want me to go
Unless you have
on to
questions.
that?
Unless you have any
The
questions.
next item is executive director's report.
I gave you everything but the color of shoes I'm wearing.
I think I saw it in there.
Huh?
I think I saw it in there.
You might have, you never know. If you have any questions, feel free to ask now or later. I try to keep you abreast of everything that's going on in the office.
What did you find out from the Immigration and Customs, ICE? Did you get good information? Is there anything you can share with us?
Yeah, he said, it's like old home week when I talked to the guy. He says, Chief, where did you come from? And I told him where, and he said, do you know so-and-so? He's a director of the southern region of ICE. And I said, yeah, I know. And he went on and on and on. Bottom line is our staff really felt it was valuable training, because we were able to figure out the difference between the hoodwinking operations that are going on with these people come in on a visa for a student, and then they try to sell it as something that gives them the right to work here, and it doesn't. And they also admitted that, I haven't confirmed this, but they have a program called SAFE, or SAVE, which you're allowed to use like E-Verify, but your Attorney General has to approve it. And I don't think we've been approved. The state, I think Jeanette found something about that in a meeting she had with some of the federal legislators. Anyway, we do everything we're supposed to do. We're doing it right. They're very comfortable with us. We had a special investigator, the chief investigator for the Las Vegas region, came over, and we're in contact with him. He's trying to validate whether we can use this SAFE program. But no, there was nothing new that I didn't know already. When I was telling NIC that this is the way it is, that's the way it is. That's confirmed by the ICE investigator. ICE stands for Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. And what that is the old Border Patrol coupled in with Customs agency. The two are now one, and they enforce all those things.
So we're in the same situation where we really have no way of verifying
Not yet.
whether they have Social Security.
No. And that's what he's trying to confirm for me. And he said, I'm in the business, and I have a hard time finding it. Very difficult. They really want us to do it. Now, some states claiming you're doing it, but it may be because their Attorney General was specifically asked for permission.
Well, didn't you say on those cases that we had in Las Vegas that some of them had come in and given their license, turned their licenses
Yes.
in?
Well, ours are all coming out of criminal investigations. We have to open a criminal investigation before we're allowed to check. And some of them, the messages in Vegas has gotten out that, if you got a bad Social Security, that you're probably going to get asked. And they're starting to turn them in before they get asked. So we message is getting out there. Slow, but steady.
I have to say, I did attend that, and I wasn't allowed to speak, but anyway, it was very, very good, very informative. Lots of great,
Yeah, she
lots
happened
of
to be
great
coming in that
information.
day, so she tipped it. No, I just told her she don't interrupt.
You told me I couldn't talk, so.
Well, I would have liked to.
This is training, not for your platform. So she obeyed. She existed. So if there's no question, anyway, if you have a question, give me a call.
Okay, next item, 16, testing reports. Testing activity report for December 09, January, and February 20.
Usually the board just receives those, just their numbers. How many do we have this week?
I'm surprised at how many people failed the March test, Rick test.
That tells you something.
Yeah.
The test is not very hard.
Is there a lot of same school involved, or just a little bit of this, a little bit of that?
We don't get that for a while, but we'll get a every school's performance test bill rate review later on.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot.
Just for a second, the civil citations, what are those? Are those the ones like you just explained?
Yeah, the difference between a citation and a
Civil citation.
yeah, they're just a different kind of, maybe you should explain it.
Civil citations?
Yeah.
Well, citations are citations for your law, so violations of NRS Chapter 644 or NAC Chapter 644. And then the civil citations, I believe, have to do with health regulations. And they're separate, and I don't exactly know much more than that. And I
Yeah, it's
apologize.
nice to have an inspector because they remember exactly the difference. But the citation for like failing to display your license and all that kind of stuff is one format of it. And then a civil citation can be coming from a lot of different angles. But there are formal citations that the board staff initiates and files against an individual based on a complaint or an investigation. That's separate from just visiting the place and seeing that they didn't have their...
So it would be more investigative, that sort of thing, more detailed instead.
Thank you. Next item, 17, Chief Inspector's Report. Are we still doing some of the things that we had for the second violation? We're working on that.
Those things work through. What she's talking about is when there's some of those values that can shift it, and then in the Versa system, they get reported flagged. So the new system of our computer system is far more data tracking than we used to be able to do in the past. So everything that happens to a license, one what we call an entity, is reported in the system. So they're able, when they look at it, they can track it off. That one's the second license. Look at that. There was some other issues, and I can't recall what they were, but had to do with that kind of question. I can't remember, but those problems have been resolved too.
So I have one question. On the new system, and they're going to be getting computers, will they be able to look it up out in the field, so as they're writing a citation, will it?
That hasn't been decided yet. There's a couple of different issues you got to worry about there. What you're talking about when you're talking about an online system is a VPN connection, which means that you actually can look at the file as it stands at the moment. We don't really need to do that. What we're looking at is what we call a synchronization process. You come in the morning, you tie your laptop to the base system, it synchronizes the data. The issue is that if you transfer the entire file, it's a monumental size file. So the only time you transfer all the groups are going to work in that day. It gives you everybody and all the information regarding, I mean literally, When you come back in at night, you plug it back in and you sync it again, it uploads everything you did today into the system. So the next guy or gal gets it, gets his most modern information. I don't want to do I'm not real interested in doing the VPN connection because it's a lot of money and a lot of ongoing costs, day-to-day costs, and I don't think they use it enough. So, and there's no real super game. I don't like to worry about finding, action or when you run the person's name, somebody got a citation 6 months ago for failing to get their license up. So the answer is probably not going to be doing the high price one. Either way, be prepared for a number of somewhere between $50,000 and $80,000 for that expense. Okay, so it doesn't surprise you.
Item 18, comments by the general public.
Eric has some comments.
That brings us on to item 19, comments by the board members. Anybody have any comments?
I have a question. I have heard multiple people inquiring about the 4 CEUs, so renewing your licenses when you're out the field. Is that something that's a legislator thing, or is that a state board thing?
It started with us.
Okay.
And bottom line is we wanted to be put in about 8 units, seniors, every 2 years for general maintenance of skills, information, infection control and stuff. And what occurred is the legislature didn't want to do that. What they were willing to do is one time only, a 4-unit class for the next renewal of everybody's license. We are in the process right now, and Regina and I are finishing up, working with the health department of the state for the video training online, which will be free, and they can come on, register, and what we're going to have is already have a 2-hour unit that's general infection control, and then we'd like to finish up with a 2-hour unit or an hour and a half. Infection control is really sorry, period.
So much like an open book kind of test?
Yeah, you take it on the internet, you go on our website, you say I want to go to the CEU or whatever the class is, and you bring that up and it registers you for the training. You watch the video, you take a little test, and if you pass the test, it records that you passed it, the course. If you fail it, you're going to do it again until you pass. And you can't get your new renewal without it. And so it becomes any renewal after January 1st, 2011. So we're in the final stages now of trying to finish the video training thing. It's on the web sometime around June or July 1st. Once we get that done, we're in shape.
And also, Mr. Jimmer, looking at doing some sort of survey type thing to show how well that it works.
Well, we're required by the legislature, if we want to do anything else, they're going to want to know how well it works, so we're going to have to take a serious look at our perception of how many did it, how receptive the clients were, did they like it. The schools are going to be very responsive in that area. So we're not formally in the survey, but we're going to want to be able to say it was successful, it's the way to go. We've already created an animal that can make it happen, and schools are willing to do it too, and either post it on ours or do it at their own schools, but if they're going to charge $25 for it. And that way, it's no longer the ominous thing of how do I get it, it costs a lot of money, and that sort of thing, because that's what the legislature wants. They're resistant to anything cost.
So if we have someone, for example, that comes in here for an infectious disease control issue, sanitation issue, and we want them to take a small educational class to update them, a refresher course, if you will. Would our infectious disease control class qualify for that?
It would.
So it won't cost you any money?
What we do now, as you recall, what we do now is you guys sentence them to a meeting with me. And my staff puts together about a 2-hour meeting and go through all of it, exactly what they need to have, why, and what we'll cite them for.
Well, we could actually even use this after
Yeah.
the CEU time.
Yeah, so it opens the door for a lot of people.
Anybody else have any comments?
Did we do the boarding passes?
Gloria did those this morning. That's why she was late.
Clicked in my head.
Thank you, Ben.
Taking care of your needs.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about NIC
You guys got all week up.
and how successful we were. I brought with me a couple of letters that I definitely would like to read to you. And I'd like to also have it on record to thank Linda Zeziger for all of her help. And without her connections, we wouldn't have probably got what we got. And usually, as far as region meetings go, they're talking if they do another combination of the 4 regions, that they'll do it on the East Coast next time, so that it can be taken back and forth, as far as expense-wise go. But there's always ways to get out there, and maybe we really like to hear. But anyway, this first letter is from Jackie Dahlquist, the NIC president, and she writes, "Dear Nevada, thank you for hosting such a fabulous meeting for NIC. You are all so gracious. Everyone enjoyed the dinner cruise, Las Vegas, South Point, the impressive Nevada board office, and your hospitality. One of my board members from South Dakota posed on Facebook that the Nevada board treated us like royalty. Vince, thank you for your informational presentation. Kathy, thank you for your many hours of blood, sweat, and tears. The entire experience was a success. I truly do appreciate the 2 of you and your board. Please share this and thank you. Thank you with the entire board." That was from Jackie. This was from one of the attendees, and I just really thought that this was cute and you appreciate it. "Hi all you district directors. I just wanted to send my sincere thanks for such a wonderful event in Las Vegas. I know you all put in so much hard work to make it a success, and I appreciate it very much. The Desert Princess and the Hoover Dam under a million stars was a great way to get the whole thing started, and it was just wonderful all the way up to the very end. I loved all the field trips as it gave everyone a chance to visit and catch up with other states. You have truly started on a journey to a new NIC, and I love it. Thank you very much. Becky Brockman." I was.
Yeah, it was.
So, anyway, does that kind of answer?
Yeah.
Okay. That was, we did send out surveys to get a consensus of how we did on this meeting, because we did change up a lot of things. And we got some absolutely awesome reviews.
Any constructive criticism?
There was a little, there really wasn't enough to go into,
Worry about it?
yeah. I really, maybe bathrooms closer and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's, as far as, I don't think really there was a lot of.
Did you notice in the very beginning there was half the folks from the South were a little apprehensive? It's almost like they came in and they're just not going to like us, and they left out pouting, God, I like them a lot. I didn't want to. I got that flavor from all of that. They ended up being nicer and more friendlier.
Well, the whole idea of having the meetings like that is to interact with each other and your states. And granted, we did run out of time on a few things, and we were under time on a couple of other things. I do have to say that Mr. Jimno did save me for first in the morning, because we thought that the introductions were going to take a little bit longer than 10 minutes, and so I was able to fill that in. And then we didn't get to, I really think the round table would have been a lot better thing if we could have discussed more of the topics. If anybody's criticizing, it would be me. Things that we didn't get to do, that we really wanted to, but we did make it as jam-packed as we could.
I thought that the South Point was an excellent venue for it. It was spacious and really well appointed. I had to pay for my gym use, but that was okay. The fitness center charged extra, but I hear that that's kind of common.
That's common in Vegas, yes.
They don't have to get away as much.
Well, I just like to, as the outsider coming in and kind of being newbie, I thought everybody did a wonderful job. I think you guys are just all great. I'm just so happy to be a part of this team because you guys all put a lot of enthusiasm into what you're doing. And everybody just welcomed everybody. So you guys did a great job, I think.
Kathy deserves one.
Yes,
I do have to say that you all represented me very well. So I really appreciate that too. Because,
But we're not going to have to do it every year.
I don't know. You never know.
Man, it's a lot of work.
Anyway,
Did we have a final dollar of what we'd ended up spending?
I think that's still under
review.
She's
Yeah.
not gonna get
Probably
because
some-
I think we have.
probably
We
some
stayed under our.
It seemed well under budget.
Oh, yeah,
You were under what your budget, I know that, yeah.
Anyway, Eric, you're looking at me like it's time to adjourn. So we'll go to item 20, and we will adjourn this meeting at 2:20.
Yeah, would anyone like a ride to the airport?
I was just curious if she typed it in. She said, Eric, you're looking like it's sure, and I thought, I guess you have to.
Four of us have to meet for a little while.
Unfortunately, we
Back to the
were
office and leave for time.
3 would know.
Yours doesn't work here, does it? Yours doesn't work here, does it? I know it's why we're leaving now anyway, but still.
I know.
You know, because I remember thinking about
It's this building. It's an old building. It's ridiculous.